hey, hey, hey. Ooh.
Hey, you guys!
Can't rain all the time.
Maggots, Michael.
I love you.
I know.
I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit.
What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Hell is this?
This is for Brody. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
Oh, no, music's
We're
going
live.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah, to tell you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast that is hosted by, the nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I am the other host, Paul. And as we have started this new tradition of introducing our guests in a more professional and interesting way, I am going to continue that one. Sam's is next week, so that's going to be fun. So tonight, he's ready.
Mm-hmm.
He's ready for the anticipation of it now. So tonight we are joined by the quiz mistress herself. She is an expert in cosplay and all things spooky and macabre. She is the B-movie queen. We are joined by Miss Jessica Fox. And also, we also have the games master himself. He is the messiah of Mario. He has embodied the spirit of Sonic. He is the gaming up north guru. We have the Jake.
Thank you. That was a lot of
Jake
nice
gets this every week?
alliteration.
Yes.
Does he get this every week? Like every time he comes on?
I'll change it up every week. We have to do different ones, so we have to be clever. We can't just
So
sit
name-
to the same stale format and not move forward.
Yeah, Games Master is fitting because it's only a matter of time before I become a floating green screen head.
We will do our best to keep everything safe.
The doomsday clock is
That's-
5 minutes to floating head.
So yes. So that's a new thing that we're trying. Hopefully people like it.
It's beautiful, Paul. Thank you very much. It's all fact as well, so now that it's been said, no one can dispute it.
Yes,
No.
because we are now all about the facts on Nerdy Up North and Monsters now, apparently.
What have I done?
So yes, so Sammy, take it away there, lovely lady.
Oh, are we going straight in for the disclaimer, or are you interested in what you've watched this week?
Yeah, you can ask what we've been watching.
Wow,
Mine-
what have you been watching this week? Go on then, Jake.
The Watchmen. And I have been reading The Watchmen. And I haven't had any time for anything else apart from some World of Warcraft here and there.
Dear me.
That's been my day today since 12 o'clock this afternoon. I'm so glad I started at that time and started doing my notes in the movie, because otherwise I'd still be sitting there right now.
I watched it
Doing
over
them.
3 nights. Like I was like sat there. I like finished the last 25 minutes last night.
I was quite engrossed in it, actually. I didn't even bother with as much as I was looking at my laptop for a few things. I wasn't really paying attention to my phone like I usually would.
I had to try and fit it in. It was because me and Jake, I think you did it as well, Sammy, we decided to be brave and go for the ultimate cut to watch as well. So it took a lot longer than expected, but yes. Have you been watching anything interesting, Jessica?
We've been going through the new True Detective, Night Country.
Oh,
It's been really good. It's on its last episode tomorrow. It's going to see how it all pans out in the end, but it's been quite good. It's interesting.
I'm going to start that after next week, because next week's going to be binging Sherlock again. So,
Oh, shit.
so yes, a lot of trying to catch up on that show and trying to remember stuff, because I love it, but I can't remember it too well. And we are talking about it next week, so that's going to be next week's conversation.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yes.
So has True Detective gone back to season 1 vibes? I think I'd been hearing.
So there is a reference to season 1 in it. There's a
Ooh.
nice little reference to season 1. It's very different, this one, because it's set with the like the 30 Days Night in Alaska. So very loads of Thing vibes to it as well. Stuff's happened out on the ice, and you don't know how and why. Certainly, it's getting quite supernatural in its way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give too much away in case no one's watched it yet, but it's well
No.
worth watching. Really,
Cool.
really good.
I will be checking it out.
Can I just ask though, has she kind of stayed away from the Clarice Starling? Is this like a whole
she's
new,
completely different. She's
brilliant.
amazing. She's so unhinged. She's so foul-mouthed. She's filthy.
So the
she's
anti-Clarice.
She sounds right up Sammy's street. Then there'll be death in it, so
Yeah.
Sammy will love it. So yeah. I've watched 2 movies. I'm not going to talk about them too much because, yeah, I'm not going to start slugging things off. But Aquaman 2 was
why
is that a real movie?
was a movie. I just felt like they just cut loads of different random stuff in. Just Jason Momoa going, "Yeah, I'm a dude. Yeah, bro.
It
yeah."
like when I saw the trailer, it looked fake, and I'm not going to elaborate anymore. But it looked like a fake movie trailer that Deadpool would show or something like that.
Yeah, but then I thought, all right, that like I'll watch something else because we didn't get to see the pictures. We'll watch the prequel to the Hunger Games. The Songbird and the Snake.
Again, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that was again, I don't. If you haven't watched the movie, I don't get it because it's supposed to be the prequel to how Snow become all bastardized and evil. But yeah, it doesn't really do anything. It's just all mopey and lovey-dovey and shit.
It's like I've seen it, and I've tried to read the book 100 times over, like last year, because I read all the Hunger Games last year, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this before the movie comes out, and I just couldn't. I didn't feel the character at all. So I thought maybe the movie might help that, and it did to a certain degree. But just as you get into the part where it's like, oh, this is evil Snow, like everything's starting to cut, and then it just ends.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, we don't get to see.
I don't know if we're going to get like a trilogy like we did with the others, but yeah, it didn't. It felt like it was a movie that didn't need to be made on a story that no one really was interested in.
I think you might be right, because the Hunger Games in itself is just it's great. It didn't need any additional like to it. Like I was always fine with the fact that Snow was a dick.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really need to know how he became that dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
All is better trying to humanize bad guys, not just letting someone just be a bad guy.
Just be
be a bad guy.
I think we talked about this on the RoboCop podcast that like you rarely get the 80s bad man anymore.
Everyone's scared to be shown that like it's true evil or true bad. Everyone's got to have some kind of innocence or niceness to them. Fuck no, just give us a dick and we'll root for the dickhead. We'll always do, but yeah. Yes.
Well, I watched a movie that you'll all get to hear about tomorrow. I watched Pumpkinhead. That happened. And then Netflix got me really excited because it said it was adding SVU, Law and Order, to its programming, and I was like, get the fucking 26 seasons of SVU. No, they've gone and put 5 on, and they've started from series 6.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? They do that a lot. It's literally they'll just get any season that can get their hands on, and they think that's good enough. Like, who's gonna want to start watching that?
6. It starts from season 6. It ends at like 8 or something. No, that can't be right. 11 or something like that. And I'm like, well, no, because there's cliffhangers. Like, no, you can't do that. I was so disappointed last night when I went on to watch it. I was ready to go like really hard and go from the beginning. No, can't do that.
Cool. Right.
Dicks.
So I think we should get into it because normally our podcasts are shorter than our longer. Sorry. Our podcasts are normally longer than the films that we are reviewing. I don't want this to be a fucking 4-hour podcast. Please, God, no.
Not directed by Zack Snyder. We're all
good.
There's
not going to be any slow-mo motion or anything like that. So yes.
So I'll do the disclaimer and then we can crack on with it.
Cool.
So everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us in the Facebook group, the Discord, or the comments section where we can have an open discussion. What we won't have, though, is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of nerdism.
Very well said. So,
Thank you.
So we are going to be talking about one of my, and I always get looked at weird when I talk about this, as one of my favorite comic book adaptations to movies, because it is probably the most comic book movie that has been made in a long time. So we are going to be talking about The Watchmen. So I am very excited to do that as well. So yes.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because it's kind of like you got your oh, he's gone.
He's up to something.
He's gone. Oh, well, no, because he's had so much problems today. Oh shit! I hope that intro hasn't like fucked him up.
Wouldn't the call have broke if Paul really had disappeared?
Would it be?
Dog carcass in alley this morning. Tire tread on burst stomach. This city is afraid of me. I have seen its true face. The streets. Sorry.
Checks out. He's following the script.
I'm good at writing a joke too. I'm good.
It's broken. Oh dear.
Paul, come back. Ah! Oh no, he's put his face on.
The streets are extended gutters and the gutters are full of blood. And when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of all the sex and murder will foam and up about their waists. And all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us!" And I will look down and whisper, "No."
Way, he's here.
Are you keeping the face on or are you taking it off?
No, I couldn't fucking see. I lost my. I was trying to
How
put
does he see through that thing?
No, I put little tiny hires holes and I couldn't have time to put them through. So I couldn't find the button again to press to put the video back on, because I was going to put the video back on after I said, I have seen its true face. And I was going, that would be class. And I was like, I can't find the button. So yeah, sorry.
This is why we need a producer.
Yeah. I loved all you heard was, "It's broken." I'm sure Rorschach doesn't say that.
He says a lot in the comic, which they actually put in the movie a couple of times. I did enjoy.
Yes. So yeah.
Well, before we get into it, I have the tagline for the movie because I love a tagline. Right. It's "Justice is coming to us all, no matter what we do." Pretty straight to the point.
It's not very
catchy, is it? It's not very like we've had some corker taglines, and that one, like it'll never beat the Batman one. No. But that was just very straight to the point. Justice is coming to us all, to all of us, even no matter what we do.
I think the big tagline though, what they used for literally everything like that that made Watchmen was always "Who watches the Watchmen." That was always like on literally everything marketing wise and stuff as well. Like even from the comics to the video comic to which again, if no one has seen it, it's one of the most brilliant things I've ever done. It's just basically like the comic moving in like thing. I think they brought it out as a pre-code to the movie. It was kind of like used as an advertisement, and the advertisement for this movie as well was fucking amazing. Like the colors, the imagery, like everything used was so on point and so. I don't know how this movie wasn't more successful than it was.
It was so weird when I was reading about it today, because there was half and half, people saying that they hated it because the changes that were made, and then other people were saying, well, it's actually the most closest adaptations to a comic book movie that's been done before. And so there's like a two-way argument. And I was like, I get the changes now that I've done a bit more research on it and understand as to why. So I'm not mad at it. I never was mad at it in the first place.
So Jessica, how did you get into the Watchmen? Was it the comic first, or was it the movie, or?
Oh, I think yeah. So I was working. I'll have been like 16 or something when it hit Empire magazine. Like the first announcement that we're doing it, and it had basically where I was working. Someone had the Empire magazine on their desk, so I sort of borrowed it without
Right.
realizing.
So you stole it, then that's fine.
Like three.
Yeah.
Rorschach wouldn't let that go.
It's fine. But no, looking through it, obviously it had all of the outfits everyone was going to be wearing, all the cinematic quality that was going to come from it. It was just kind of like, what is this? And then I instantly went out and went straight to Forbidden Planet when I found the graphic novel and stuff, and spent ages being hyped waiting for this movie. And yeah, it was amazing. It's about like everything about it is just, there's nothing about this film that I don't like. It's just everything.
I think it is probably the quintessential comic book nerds movie that was ever like made, and they always referenced it as the unfilmable film.
Didn't they try before?
It's been going. No, since the rights were bought in 1986 by Lawrence Gordon and Joel Silver, and they had a war with Warner Brothers and Fox. A huge court case erupted from it. I think Warner Brothers won in the end. There was certain directors who put their name in the hat, Tim Burton being one of them.
Yes, and guess who wanted in the Tim Burton movie as well?
Yeah, Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp as Rorschach.
Yeah.
No.
that was the thing. It just would never have worked. Not because it's only because
actually,
of the
sorry, that
Rorschach
was
we
wrong.
got.
I got my fact wrong there. Sorry, Johnny Depp was penciled in to play the comedian.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
he was the comedian. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, no.
And you know who the original choice for the Zack Snyder film was, though? If we want to go into our facts now,
Go on then.
Ron Perlman was the original
Yes,
cast. It was
yes.
wanted for Rorschach, which would have been quite tall, Rorschach.
I've got that one. Also the Silk Spectre 2, they wanted Jessica Alba.
Yes.
That makes sense for the time.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But they didn't get her.
No.
And I'm glad, because I love the actress who plays her. I think she's got such a brilliant voice.
I've got some Alan Moore facts about this as well.
It's been like Fantastic Four all over again. We like.
And Sin City.
Sin City, though, you kind of blame her for Sin City. That was just epic.
Sin City, I like. She was brilliant with character for Sin City, but Fantastic Four.
There was choice. So I've got some facts on the Warlock, Adam Moore. So
nice.
Basically, the reason why the Watchers and Watchmen are so prevalent in the movie as well is because Alan Moore wanted to be a watchmaker when he was growing up. So he always wanted to do a comic based on like something to do with watches. He outright hates this movie to the point he refused to have his name anywhere on it. I did
notice that.
He gave up.
I did right at the beginning.
Everything though. There's nothing that Alan Moore's a fan of.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen ruined that for everyone.
He's amazing.
He rescinded any royalties that he would have got, and that all went to David Gibbons.
He signed them over to him as well, so it wasn't it wasn't a case of like, oh well, we'll just have to give it to him. Alan was like, no, I'll sign them over to him as long as you keep my fucking name out of it.
It's crazy. And Watchmen the comic, like the graphic novel, was the only graphic novel named on Life magazine's top 100 novels of the 20th century.
Wow.
And it is, to date, still the only graphic novel to win the Hugo Award.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yes.
That is super interesting because I know like a lot of comic fans don't like Alan Moore because they think like he's just like a curmudgeon about everything. But every time I've read an interview by him, it's like he sees his vision of the world, and in the same like Rorschach. He's not like right wing crazy like Rorschach, but he has that like unflinching like sense of justice where like you say, he signed over his like money from this to like his artist partner, and it's like Yeah, because he obviously believes, like, he's not just making it up. He actually
Yeah.
doesn't like this at all.
He's being sincere in his dislike.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he could have just quite easily kept that money and nobody would have been none the wiser.
Yeah, because he's been very outspoken. Maybe like last year or something, I was reading like a Guardian thing where he thinks that Marvel and sort of Disney have infantilized like movies, like and audiences like by proxy. So he's basically saying like nerds are like children and they just want like the slop to watch. Basically, they just want to be bottle fed superhero stuff.
He didn't need to put it that way about myself.
I kind of get it though. Like,
attacked right now.
I know, but I kind of get it though. Like,
Yeah,
it's like some movies are just like Madam Web is just put out because
yeah,
and people go and watch it and pay for it, and I'm like, can you not just not like?
Yeah,
I've heard it's bad.
Especially with like the actual meaning behind Watchmen. So I've actually got all of the meaning that comes within this movie / comic is hero, villains, and vigilantes, moralist versus utilitarian ethics, identity and empowerment, nihilism and meaning, and American corporation and patriotism.
We can
So
say
it's
that.
kind of,
Like,
there's so much meaning into just this one thing, whereas everything right now is just kind of like what I like, shapes and colors.
But you can tell though the comic was wrote during a time like I think America was Ronald Reagan, and would have been Thatcherism in the UK.
Yeah, Moore's so good at doing that though. If you read V for Vendetta at the beginning, you know exactly where you are in the timeline of the UK without him even having to tell you where you are. You can just like see it within his dialogue, and obviously with the artwork as well that helps it. So he is really good at pinpointing you into history where he wants you to be, whether that history stays the same, because obviously it doesn't in Watchmen. There's no way a president can run for 5 terms and get away with it.
Well, you can,
especially
if you've got Dr. Manhattan as you in your back pocket, you can change any rules you want.
That is true.
That was the whole thing about abuse of power. But like just going back to Alan Moore for a little bit, because like normally, like say we're laughing and say that the group doesn't help us, like Nerdy Up North doesn't help us for much, but someone actually put Alan Moore quote on today that I thought was quite intriguing, because like say Alan Moore is notorious for being one of the grumpiest, one of the most antisocial, like literally hates everything. But he actually went out and said, like he actually quoted one time, he said, read books, not just good books, read bad books. You can find like inspiration from anywhere, and even a bad book can inspire you for the greatest of ideas. So I thought that was just a nice thing, like something that like you expect Alan Moore not to say in a way, because when he comes like the grumpy old warlock that he is, but that kind of like inspiration just to go out there and just take content from wherever, and it could be good, bad, but it can bring newfound ideas.
It's odd though, isn't it, how fans will have like a massively adverse reaction if someone like talks in anger or something, but to me I just see like passion, and like I don't agree with everything he says, and I don't like everything I've read of his and stuff, but like you can tell he cares about like this as an art, like writing as an art. Like but I don't know why that rubs people massively the wrong way. Like fair enough, think he's like a dick or whatever if you really don't like agree with him, but he's 100% an artist, and he's good at what he does.
I wrote an article about him years ago, and I did a lot of like research on him. He has been in writing since he could pick up a pen. He started, can't even remember the name of the magazine now, but it was Doctor Who. Fan fiction, and he started with Doctor Who fan fiction, and he just went from there. And he's a really interesting person, and he has a lot of nice things to say about people within the industry. He doesn't shit on anyone at all. He actually released so Stephen King released his book on, I'm trying to see if I can see it, on how to write. Not the Stephen King way, but just like kind of like inspiration on writing and how to, help you to help yourself in writing kind of thing. And Alan Moore did exactly the same thing for comic books. I actually own it. And it's just a tiny little book, but it's so interesting to see how he can like try and make you think about where your story needs to go.
Yeah.
It's just honestly, if you can get a hold of it, it's such a good book. I got it for Christmas like a couple of years ago.
So Jake, where did you
Alan
get
Moore
introduced?
thing.
Oh, sorry, Jess.
Sorry, the other thing with the Doctor Who one. So these specials that just brought back like end of last year. That first one in, that's one of theirs. So
is it?
Oh, really?
The Meep is basically, so it was created by the same guys who worked on the Watchmen. Because I was watching the behind the scenes thing, and they brought them in to be able to see it actually in full form. Basically, they're like drawing brought to actual life and all the mechanics of it and everything.
All right.
It's really quite nifty. Like even I didn't know it until I was watching. I was like, oh my god, the guys are like part of Watchmen and they just have to do this as well. Like it was quite cute.
Very cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Sorry, Jake. Who was talking actually?
No, I was asking Jake. So Jake, when did you get introduced to the Watchmen? Like, was it the comic? Was it the movie? Or
No, a very similar story to Jess. Apart from I probably didn't see a magazine. It was probably, I think I was maybe listening to a podcast that is since defunct called Cape Crisis that used to do comic book stuff. And they used to watch the movies, like the Marvel movies that were coming out at the time, and do reviews and stuff. And I think they were more comic fans than I was. I was there for the movie chat mostly. And when they mentioned it, I just like, then HMV was also doing comics at the time. So I just picked up this one. This just whatever, 20 quid, 15 quid, maybe 18 if the price on the back's real.
I've got the same.
Yeah, I just picked that up maybe like a few months before the movie. I did the same thing with the Infinity Gauntlet when I heard that was going to be made. I went and picked the comic up. So I'm totally like, I'm not like an OG or anything like that. But no, and it was just like one of the most amazing things I'd ever read at the time, comics wise. Like I know it's mean to do this, like how you said it's the only one to like win a Hugo and everything, but I do hold it as like a separate thing from comics and graphic novels. It's like, because it's got just like pages of books in there. I don't really know what to describe like the Watchmen entire package as. It's like its own thing, and no one's really like copied it since.
I don't think they could copy it though. That's the thing, because what they did, they broke the mold with the comic book world when it came out. I know we'll talk about the film later, but like the comic, as I said, I hold in such a high regard. Same as Jake as well. It broke every rule that comic book says. It used strange colors. It wasn't always bright and vibrant. It was like used neon and interesting like different floors. It would take a whole page to do like what would normally do, like a comic book would do in one panel. They would do a page where it was like the way it was set out was just. I'm not explaining it well. Sorry.
No, it's like it's a visual thing, though, isn't it? But no, I really like those intro pages where it has like the title of the issue in like a black bar. It's usually like set around like the panels. Like it is like it's like a quiet, like a cold open, isn't it? Almost for every issue. Like you can imagine like a panning shot, like in an episode, like starting and stuff like that.
And I love the original like run of the comics as well, because I did own them at one point, but again they got sold. But the original run, it was the first comic of the time that didn't use action shots as the covers, and it as a carry on from the cover. Each comic book cover was the first panel of the inside of the comic. So it kind of like it always fed in. Like it wasn't like the exact thing, it was always part of it, or like I think where it kind of led in, and it was such a simple idea, but no one had ever thought about it, no one ever done it, and it was that retrospect. And it's always interesting as well, because like some of the questions I'll ask like near toward the end, because you don't know who the good guy and who the bad guys are in this story.
No, there's so many questions, and they like can lead into some interesting conversations.
You've almost got to like pick your own, haven't you? But all of them have got like downsides and upsides and stuff like that.
It's very true.
So
very true.
So when the film came out, like say, I was very skeptical and scared because, as I said, I've read this book a million times, and you thought, I'm excited to see it, but what happens if they do it wrong or they do it dirty, like they did like Tim Burton's Batman? But we'll not go over that again. Oh, Jess is looking at us like I've slapped her in the face.
Can I
possibly.
can I check out a Batman fact? Ozymandias suit, I can't even say his name. I've been practicing all afternoon, so I'm really sorry.
They say it
Is a
weird
pa-
in the movie as well.
Just call him Ozzy. It's fine.
Ozzy. Let's call him Ozzy for my
Adrian.
sake. I can't even say his surname. I tried for ages and I still can't say it. His suit is actually a parody of the Batman suit. Yeah, because it's got the nipples on, and they couldn't really, they didn't want to go with the original suit that he wears in the comic because it's kind of like, it's very dated, isn't it? And it's his Alexander the Great look, and it just wouldn't
it's
work
like a
with
toga,
yeah,
isn't it? Really,
it just wouldn't work with the way that like Owl's costume is. If you were like, it wouldn't match up if they were kind of like a team. So yeah, it's a parody of Batman suit.
like the Schumacher stuff. Yeah.
Yes,
It is, yeah. I think I was reading that earlier on today, of just that kind of like little in joke, which like, let's put that one in.
I just saw Batman nipples and went, hello.
Yeah. I can we talk about some of the like the on screen how it like compares, because
Yes,
Adrian doesn't look like Ozymandias to me. Like it's like I get it though, like they're doing the sort of like the young trust fund millionaire billionaire type of kid that was coming up around like the 2000s and whatever. But yeah, like in the comic he comes across just as like much older, and it was like a bit of a shock when I'm like watching and comparing like one to the other. I was like, oh yeah, they've chosen like, it's an interest and they've chosen to be really young, when in the comic he's kind of like idolizing like the old ancient kings, and it's like it doesn't, there's a bit of mismatch there for me personally.
No, I agree. Like a lot of the things, especially with like the characters in the movie as well. Like there was scenes where it was like shot by shot from the comic, and there was two things that kind of threw me. Like the guy, I can't remember his name. I think is it Billy Corgan who played called Dr. Manhattan. That was again seemed like a bit of a miscast. And
oh yeah, sorry, I don't know his name, but like his voice isn't what I was imagining in my head. It makes sense from a like detached perspective, but it's an odd performance when you watch it now, I think.
I totally agree. I thought for a really long time it was the guy from The Hangover.
It's okay.
You know, the one who goes missing, who they're looking for. I genuinely thought that was him for such a long time until I started.
No, it's the guy out of Almost Famous. I'm a Golden God. Jumps off the. But again, like didn't really have the stature and like the size to be Dr. Manhattan in my eyes. And Ozzy again was another one where I didn't quite get the casting right. Like there's a lot of casting that they got bang on and smashed out the park in this. Jeffrey Morgan as the comedian is just flawless. Like I said, I can't remember, is it the guy who played Rorschach was amazing, and
Dan. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, what's his name? Sorry.
Oh, you mean Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, Freddy.
Yeah.
Let's say Haley Joel Osment, but it's not. That's
that's why.
It's not as Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah.
That would have been a really interesting casting.
I see dead people. I killed dead people. But yeah, Rorschach.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan almost didn't take the part. He when he got called into Zack Snyder's office, even Zack Snyder wasn't too keen on him, and he kind of came in with a bit of an asshole attitude, and he went, "Oh shit, yeah, there he is."
Yeah, that's him.
And then he only read the first few like pages of the script and went, I'm not doing this. I'm not being a cameo. And his agent went, read the fucking script. And he did. And he went, oh shit, yeah, I'm not just a cameo. Yes, I will do it.
Oh, what? So like the next scene he didn't show up didn't put him off either. It's like
point out of a window.
No, I mean really interesting of like how they went about picking everyone, because obviously they've got to keep jumping backwards and forwards through time. So you think about Zack Snyder, they had to specifically pick people, so you didn't have to sort of de-age them. It was easier to age them up as the movie goes on.
Mhm.
I think it's Rorschach, like the actor plays Rorschach's the only one who's about the right age for the character. Everyone else is way younger than they should be.
But saying that he was supposed to be 34 or something, and I was like, "Fuck! If he's 34, I'm doing well.
I'm
I've not aged
okay.
badly here."
Maybe he's the
I
he's,
think they've aged him up to 45, so he fits in the timeline with everybody else.
I mean, he's
think
the
'cause
only
people-
one in shape, though, isn't he?
Yes.
Technically?
Yeah,
Well,
you see his arms.
says that.
He's built. But Jackie Earl Haley is the only one who actively campaigned for his part.
Right.
Because he
He's the
was
one that apparently, you know, when they've done all these like different ones, people pitching for it. He's the only one that was looked at before and still got into the movie in the end. Everyone else was a fresh casting in.
All right, interesting.
Yeah, he was actually he was created for the part. It's almost like Dave drew him. He looks
Yeah.
exactly like him.
Yeah. I think Night Owl's awesome as well. Like that's exactly what he looks like in the comic, as far as I'm concerned.
He's my favorite.
Mine too. And it had nothing to do with the fact it was Patrick Wilson.
But he's
well,
even got the same thing though, where he looks dorky with the glasses
Yes.
on, and then when he takes them off and like lets his hair ruffle a bit, it's like, oh yeah,
Oh,
like,
hey.
like he's literally like perfect, like panel perfect.
To be fair, though, there's
He
loads
looked
of
amazing,
parodies
so-
all the way through this for like all the different. It is like the shit Justice League with different characters.
Well, that was what Alan Moore was going for when he was writing it. Like for example, hold on, where's my character list? Night Owl is essentially Blue Beetle.
Right, because I
Not
heard
Batman.
something. I heard something different though for Night Owl, because it wasn't actually an Alan Moore cast that the character that was created, because Dave Gibbons actually created Night Owl when
it didn't say within the Wikipedia thing that I read who just said Blue Beetle like.
But this was on the documentary I watched earlier, so.
Oh well, must be right.
So yeah, Dave Gibbons actually created Night Owl when he was 14, and it was the one character. And the Hollis Mason outfit is actually the same outfit that was drawn when he was 14.
Oh, that's cool.
that's
I mean, it looks exactly like the
adorable.
Phantom, but like that's cool.
Yeah. Well, there's some not probably more looking wise, but more characteristic wise of Night Owl and Batman.
Yeah.
Obviously the tech side of things, not of the look or anything, but the tech side of things. The fact that he had his own little cave and everything. So there is some
Artie,
DC characters.
The weird thing that I still can't fathom how that works.
Magic. Oh,
They explain it a lot more in the comics.
Yes. But talking about the movie as well, like the actual start of the movie, like absolutely breathtaking. Like when you like with us, I saw this. I don't know if you guys saw it at the cinema for the first time.
Yeah, in Sunderland. Yep.
And seeing that on the big screen just blew my fucking mind. Like just that opening, and how I know we're going to talk about all the way through how the soundtrack is used all the way through, like Simply Forgettable, and then the comedian gets 7 bags of shit literally beat out of him, and then just defied physics at times, the way they were getting thrown around the room and stuff, but it was entertaining as fuck.
I wrote down the fight scene looks like a dance. It looks like they're dancing with each other. It almost felt like they knew each other.
Well, they did.
That they knew each other's moves. Yes. I understand after like going through it, but that's what I wrote down as I was watching it.
Yes.
What do you think about like the power set of the Watchmen? Because it's like low powered in a weird way, yet everyone, like the comedian just like punches straight through a brick wall at the start.
Yeah.
So it's like but it's almost as if like there are people in the world who are just like a few levels above everyone else, and like, you know, Adrian.
It is
Veidt
always
at the top.
interesting because obviously at the start, particularly with the extended edition, when they mentioned all the were just police officers that decided that was the police force wasn't doing enough.
Yeah, that's
So
a
they all
change
banded
though, because
together.
that wasn't the storyline in the comic.
No,
Had nothing
Hollis.
to do with the police
Oh, they
officer.
got-
Hollis was a policeman, and he went off on his own, I think, by the sounds of it, and met up with like Captain Metropolis and all those.
Yes, Captain
weird
Metropolis.
guys.
He was the one who brought
Hooded
the
Justice.
Minutemen together type thing.
Is it? Am I just not remembering right? But do they ever call themselves the Watchmen in the comics? Because they call themselves the Crime Busters when they get broken up, when like the comedian fucks them off.
Yeah, I have a few movie versus comics, and that is one of them. They didn't use the Crime Busters.
Yeah,
They
and
only
it
used in the
fails
comics.
immediately. Like they don't actually get together technically. They're just all like at the same time, parallel heroes, and But yeah, okay, I'm not going mad then.
It's fine. I think, like I said, the original ones were called the Minutemen.
Yeah.
That was like the original gang. As you said, Captain Metropolis got together with a few interesting characters as well. But like say that opening fight scene just sets the tone of what we're going to expect for the movie, because literally we think you're going to watch a comic book movie, but it is one of the most brutal movies that has been made in a long time. Like there's no like
it's a little bit goofy though, do you not think? Some
Yeah.
of the ultra violence, like especially there's like a part later on where like he just like pushes through someone's elbow right into the camera and it's all squishy and stuff. But yeah, it's not what I expected, I think, going into the cinema. But did this, when you said it was kind of a bomb, did being like an 18 certificate hurt it for that?
Oh, massively, I think, because
It is.
it didn't do as well as I thought they would, and like I know we'll get in later. The ending part did get a lot of backlash with fans, with
Such a shame.
what they were expecting, and a lot of people, even though I quite like the ending in the movie,
Me too.
because it would have been interesting to see the giant squid, but
then it's explaining it in that time that you've got, and we'll get into it at the end.
But yes, so like I say, we'll get the interesting part. Like I say, the opening fight is just breathtaking. But then my favorite part of the movie, and again, I didn't expect it to be my favorite part, is the opening credits.
Yeah, the intro with Bob Dylan's "Times a Changin'" playing is just fucking mwah.
I don't know, I hate Bob Dylan's voice.
I like a bit of Bob Dylan.
It was grating on me. But what I do like is how the summarized Hollis's book in that opening movie, so you don't have to like flash back to like narration from the book.
It was so cleverly done as well, though. That like, as you said, because could you imagine like this? The extended cut was like close to 4 hours. If we got all them backstories for each one of them characters, or I would have been gutted if they cut them out and you just got them like in a meeting, like, oh, these photographs, this is this and this person, and you saw each one of them stories done so well, and it like I don't think an opening film or an intro has been done as well like in many movies like since or even before Watchmen.
Totally agree.
It's a really good like setting the tone piece for everything. Even though there is a time jump sort of after it, but it at least gets you in the mindset of like, okay, this is all happened, therefore now we start.
Yeah, but it explains the. Oh, sorry, Jessica.
Sorry, it's filmed beautifully, because even all the references to like classic era photos and everything, and having them in the interchanging spots as it's going through. Going through like all the glory moment, and then all the points where how everybody got taken out and how it just dwindled down until the new lot start to come in.
Yeah,
I love all the references of basically what happened. There was no Rorschach explains it at one point, but how they all got taken out.
Well, that's
is great.
Quite close to what I was about to say, actually, because it was the it also sets the time period as well, because you think you're in the 80s. It is Cold War. It is the cold, like the Americans and the Russians, but it is a completely different way of it as well. There's different factors into it. The best part for me was the comedian. He killed JFK.
Yeah,
of course he did. Of course he did.
I didn't realize until I was watching it again today, because we had a higher quality version on, actually how brutal the shot is. Like,
it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I don't even remember the pictures looking that brutal. You're like, obviously the classic stuff. Like, they really went for it for such a tiny little shot.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll leave that ambiguous in the comics, where they're like, all the characters just assume he did it.
Yeah.
But then the mention he had an alibi at some point, like he was somewhere else at the time.
He also, in the comics, he covered up Watergate. that's how Nixon managed to stay in, because that's what ruined him. And it was the comedian who covered it up, because he was a government agent as well, which I thought was really interesting, because I read Watchmen a long time ago, and I haven't really revisited the film since, like, for a long time until today. And I was like, oh, he's a really interesting and intriguing character. He's an arsehole, but it's like he has an answer for every arsehole movie does.
it's one of them things. When I was watching it, I wrote down a few things about the comedians. I said he is the worst out of them all. Like say, like the things he does in it, like the attempted rape is just disgusting. Like I said, he killed a
Ugh.
pregnant woman. He killed JFK. Like he is just like the grossest form of humanity, and like that's why they keep on saying it's the joke. He knows like he's the only one that's in on the joke, or the only one that can see the punchline.
I mean, kinda, but like in his final moments, he's just like he's crying his heart out because it's like too much for him, and it's like he's like, oh, he's like, mother help me and stuff.
Yeah, once he realizes essentially what Ozymandias is planning, what they're gonna do, that's the breaking point of like that's too much, that's too far, and we can't
one
do
thing
it.
that the change doesn't like make sense for me is like I don't think he would have reacted that from seeing a plan to make explosions that look like Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense
about what they're going to do to Dr. Manhattan, that they're going to obviously movie, not comic, but in the film, obviously that they're going to coerce, like even into his own head, that he did it, that he caused all of this. Not that kind of the game was already against him. I like kind of that last little bit from him of that kind of like, yes, he's been the worst sort of person, but it's even the point where he's talking obviously shoots the pregnant girl and it's like, you could have done anything.
Yeah. You could have stopped it. You could have
stopped it. It's like, I'm just a standard person. I have no restraint. I can't control. You can.
And like when he's like saying to Moloch, like, oh, this is sad, but it's like the closest thing I've got to a friend. It's like, so he just ends up being the most pathetic person in the entire world, basically.
It's like a version of himself. He says a really one of my favorite lines from the whole film was when they're in the streets and he says, "What about the American dream?" And he went, "This is it.
Yeah,
this is it. You are living it." And I was like, "Oh my god!" That's one of my favorite lines in the film. But yeah, he's cool.
No, it's fine. Like, see, I've got a list of the original Minutemen's names as well. Like, see, because some of them were quite cool. So we've got Captain.
Oh no, I don't. I have the Watchmen. Sorry.
So we've got Captain Metropolis. He was
an army guy. He's an army guy. I think they say ex-army because he's the one who like organized things.
Silk Spectre, which was Sally Jupiter. Just absolutely beautiful. Hooded Justice, as Jake said before, which like again
they kind of make out it might be a Nazi, like hiding out in America.
No.
Oh, interesting.
Well, it is an interesting take, but that's not him.
Well, no, that's the thing, because it changed from what the comic version was to the TV show.
Oh, really?
The TV show, that wasn't what the Hooded Justice was meant to be. That was basically the guy who made the TV show had turned it into as part of like.
That makes sense.
That's because if you look at the movie, Hooded Justice is white. Like if you look
at his
got a
German accent as well.
No, but because it explains in the TV show why he did that. He's not white.
But that wasn't part of the comic.
Ah, right.
Because he's dead. Yeah. He also is like this. Well, no, they say they found a body that they thought was him. It's like a weird thing. It's just mentioned in the book section.
Yeah. But that was
I absolutely loved him in the TV show.
Yeah, the TV show that was completely created as brand new. That was completely different there.
One thing I've heard about the TV show is that the guy who wrote it just had that story he wanted to write, and the Watchmen was like on the side.
Like it's so true. It's so true because it's the main plot line.
Yeah.
Like, but it's so good, so good.
Mothman.
Yeah, the one who went insane.
And one of the ones I loved as well as Silhouette. She was absolutely stunning. Like I loved the femme fatale look, and she looked absolutely amazing. Dollar Bill, which just like made us laugh.
He was the one. It explains in the comics that he was like a bank mascot. Like they hired him to be like a superhero for the bank.
And he's the one that got his cape caught in the door. That's why. So that's why capes are bad. So no capes.
No capes.
No capes.
The original Night Owl, which was Hollis Mason, and the comedian, because the comedian fucking aged well, because he was in the originals and he still looked. Not too bad. I'm glad they didn't, when he was in Vietnam as well, they didn't go with the bondage look for the live action, because that would have been weird.
He has that like gimp mask, doesn't he, with like the square mouth.
Yeah. They stayed away from that. Zack Snyder was like, that's a bit too far.
And I know, like, we're laughing, we'll take the piss out of Zack Snyder, like, with other things, but this was the one movie that I loved with Zack Snyder where the slow-mo worked in every instance that he used.
It's got some
Yeah.
Snyderisms in it though, like the is
Mhm.
like cheesy side. Because like, did you notice there was a part where Adrian was talking to like just those like other company people, and there's like the twin towers very visible and like shiny and like a glowing light behind them, like behind him. That's very Snyder. He likes his like overt like Jesus pose Superman and stuff like that.
It's very true. It's very true. His cinematography, though, is just, it is beautiful. The man knows how to put together a good movie. And what I was so pleased about is that he actually knew where to put songs in this one.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a good time fitting songs into the right places. And this one, he actually managed to hit every song, kind of hit its mark.
I
So
think
well
this
done,
is the
Zach.
prime
What
Snyder
about
movie.
My
This is the
Chemical
one that
Romance?
set the kind of bar for Snyder.
Sorry, what was that,
Sorry,
Jess?
Jess.
With this, so I think this is the one that sort of set the bar for Snyder of kind of like this kind of was like, this is where we want superhero movies to be going. We want them to look and sound and be like this.
Mm-hmm.
But it also proves Snyder can only really do stuff when he's adapting someone else's work. You let him do his own thing, it all goes horribly wrong. Nothing makes sense. His visuals and his sound are brilliant, but he needs a base story to work from.
And he had a really good one for Batman versus Superman, but he didn't follow the right direction. He just managed to mush two comic books together and go, that'll do.
He made Batman
DC I stay away from anyways.
Yeah, he nearly made me walk out the cinema because Batman had a gun.
Yeah, that was.
But I think if there's anybody trying to work with Warner to do DC stuff doesn't stand a chance anyway. I think you could be the greatest person in the world and it would still be the biggest piece of trash that's going to come out.
It's interesting though, like this kind of movie hasn't really happened again. Like a full on like serious take at a comic book. I know like there's Sin City as well and like stuff.
I
was
would
around
say Sin City's the closest to something like this,
Yeah.
where it was direct graphic novel to screen, with the first maybe not second.
Yeah, but like it's
but
weird
then-
because you'd think as like the rise of like the MCU, you'd think people would be taking comics more seriously, but it's almost like the opposite where they've like took it and they're like, no, our MCU is better than the comics. You don't need the comics anymore. It's like we're gonna redo every story. It's weird.
I think it's difficulty with all of these kind of like, how to put this, nerdism things that when they're getting brought up to screen, the issue you have is everyone has their own version of how they read it or how they viewed it. So no one's ever going to be happy what hits screen, and it's
exactly. Yeah,
impossible to please.
Yeah.
It is getting worse because they're trying too hard to appease people and just sticking by going, this is the comic story you're getting.
Yeah, stand by it.
And yours might come around the next time round, but this is the one we are doing.
Yeah.
But because everyone literally cries at everything like, that's not my version of this. So it's probably never going
I
to.
totally agree. David Ayer with the Suicide Squad, when he went on about how that's not my Suicide Squad. I have another version of this. And it's like, dude, just fucking own what you got. Own what was put out. Own it. I'd have a lot more respect for it because he really went hard on the MCU that year.
But that's fine. But I can understand why he did that at the same time. Just simply because he did a film, he finished it, give it to the studio, who give it to someone who basically cut the trailer and recut a brand new film. And then slapped it saying David Ayer made this film. He fair enough, he shot the scenes, but that's not his film, so I can understand his frustration in a way. I know,
should have signed over his royalties to his artist friend. Felt that way about it.
But I know, like I said, there's so many different arguments you can have or look at the viewpoints that way. One thing I do like, say, there's a few things that I think missed the boat completely with the Watchmen, and again, I'm not going to be too critical because I do love this movie. Because I love the gag in the comic where Rorschach's the one that's walking around with the end is nigh. And that was kind of lost on that gag and spoilt a little bit because you see him walking around with a sign, so you already know what Rorschach looks like now without the mask. So when they take the mask off him, when the police capture him, it lessens the impact that you would have got from seeing his face originally. I know that might be just a personal choice to me, but I would have probably cut that out and said, we don't really need Rorschach walking around with the end
But
of
it was,
sign.
I think it was to kind of to really let you know that there is another person under there, and it makes sense to me now since I've watched it. What the end bit, when he takes his mask off, he dies as Walter Kovacs, and there is another person in there. So I didn't mind the fact that you got to see him. I just missed him a few times. Not
I
gonna
think
lie,
they're like,
missed the
I
sign.
think that
I
they
quite liked it. I liked the whole thing of him walking around and he was viewing it all from the other side, as well as in the mask, and then walking around seeing the streets as they are and everything like that. And to be honest, when they do the comedian's funeral, there's a bit with that I love, because obviously he comes walking past as well, and it's Night Owl is the only one to sort of just for a split second look at him and just like, hang on a second.
Yeah, like
then-
what's this smelly
it's
guy
not,
doing
like-
here?
It's probably the smell, isn't it?
He probably
But it's really
recognizes it.
just there's something that he clicks to, because no one else even acknowledges this guy walking past with this
Yeah.
sign. But you see that for a split second in the movie that Night Owl kind of turns, just has a little look, and then kind of just brushes it off of like, it's probably nothing.
I think overall though they did Rorschach dirty on the whole. Like because the therapy scenes in the comic are like really good, and you get much more of a sense of like what he is. Because I think if people only watch the movie, they just think like, oh, he's like angry Batman who kills, and it's like, no, he like Sammy was saying, is Kovacs' persona died the day he saw like that kidnapping case.
Yeah.
And it's like Rorschach is him now.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not actually sure why he takes the mask off at the end, unless it's like Rorschach doesn't actually die as long as his journal lives on, type of thing.
Well, that's
yeah.
that's exactly how I interpreted it. Like he had to
Yeah.
die as Walter for the journal to continue, because he will always continue on with that journal.
Oh, interesting. One thing
I really
I
wished-
thought it was
not-
just at the end. It's just the absolute, like, I know for me when I watch it, it's like just the giving up of like all that fighting for it. And what was the point? They won
Possibly,
anyway.
yeah.
No.
You were never going to win against them.
No.
And obviously leaving the journal was kind of like, you can kill me, but I've
Yeah.
already put it out there.
No, definitely.
The world's gonna know.
And
I don't quite understand why Dr. Manhattan goes out of his way to murder him, really, because like Adrian's not bothered, and I don't think it would have made much of a difference
It
whether or
almost
not
seems
he
like a
walked
sense
away.
of peace for Rorschach, of kind of like the guy will never stop. He's an absolute
Yeah.
like, as far as the film goes, they've got him so tortured and so caught up in everything that he's not seeing anything more than just the bad.
Justice.
Yeah.
It's justice. Rorschach is all
Yeah.
about justice. However way that looks to him, it's justice. The case
Yeah.
that you referred to with the little girl, that's actually a real case that actually happened. That one. Alan Moore
That's
took
my
it
only point
directly.
in the movie. Everything in it, I'm fine with, except for that bit, because that bit just gets us where I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
Also, I don't know
alright.
why there was a couple of parts, like I don't know why they changed how he killed the guy, because like they made it like super like awful and violent in a different way, but I don't think it serves
To the
a
jokes,
different
doesn't it?
purpose. Because in the comic, he handcuffs him to the furnace and then sets the house on fire and gives him a saw, like in the Saw movie. And is like, it's like he's like, oh, it'll be faster to saw through the arm, and then he just walks out and he watches like the entire building burn, and it's like I don't see how the knife thing is worse or better, like from like a violent perspective. I think it's on the same level.
No,
I don't know why they bothered with that, unless they just couldn't be bothered to do like a fire scene or something.
possibly might have been like an expensive one. But the other thing, again, I was quite gutted that they missed off, because I loved the story in the book. And I know, again, it sounds wrong because it's like a horrible story, but how Rorschach gets his mask. And like,
Yeah.
it's such an interesting take in the comic where, like, say, he rescues this. She's an actress or a model from being raped in an alleyway, and one of the people like rips a dress off, but Rorschach saves her, and it's like this material that's like, say, that does like the movement and like as part of it.
Yeah, I think they've wrote themselves into a bit of a corner by changing the Dr. Manhattan story, because in the comics he's already advanced technology up to like electric cars and stuff.
Yeah.
In the movie they don't show that until afterwards, like after the ending. So like they say he created that weird Rorschach material. So I think they accidentally put the tech back in the movie
Yeah.
timeline just by like the change in the writing. But yeah, like in this the therapist guy gets a lot. Like I know they don't have time in a movie, but it's not just one session where Rorschach just like traumatizes him.
No.
And also, they change it to where the guy walks out and he's like, I can't help him. Like that's the total opposite of the comic. Like he tries so hard to help him that he ruins his entire life. Like he ruins his marriage, and then he ends up like fighting on the street to like try and claw back
God.
some justice at the end.
That
like,
just like shortchanges that character so much,
and then
doesn't it?
then he explodes, you know.
but
But still, it's like it's kind of like the sanded off the edges, but they didn't need to like to make that guy to be like a shit psychiatrist, because in the comics he's trying so hard, but there's nothing wrong with Rorschach. That's the problem. Like he's just that way, and he's not going to change.
And that was the other thing I was going to mention as well is like with the extended cut that we watched, it's got the Black Freighter in.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
the Black Freighter doesn't add anything to the movie for me, or didn't add anything to the comic to me either as well. Them are the
No.
pages I used to skip over when I was younger as well.
I love what it's all about, though. It's for poor Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
It's for Jared Butler. Yeah.
Because he promised him a role in the movie, cast everyone, and kind of went,
Oh, shit.
right, so
Shit.
we're going to put this in the extended, and then technically you're still in the movie.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw his name come up on the credits now, and fuck, I can't remember him being in this. And then I had to Google
First
it,
time
and I was like,
watched the extended edit, I was like, hang on. I was like, straight on IMDb, who was he in the film? Like, I've watched this film countless times. Like, oh, he's in the extended, that's why. It's that.
Because that must have added at least about 20, 25 minutes to the movie. And again, that like the things that we've just talked about and like the things that didn't quite hit the mark, that could have been fleshed out and given a little bit more body to the. Because I know the characters were so rich. Like if we talked about the individual characters, like Rorschach all the way through is absolutely relentless. Like some of the greatest scenes in cinema history, like when he's in prison. And
he's so funny in prison when he's having a go at the little guy and the big guy, and he's so great. Shortchanged.
That kills us every time when the little guy's talking to him. It's the way he says the word explode, because it goes really high pitched and stuff. He gets so excited when he says it.
That guy's awesome. He's in like loads of films and stuff. Yeah, like it's in like I see what you mean about like going back to the Black Freighter just for a sec. Like I've read what it's supposed to like represent, but I don't see it. Like because they're saying like, oh, it's like. It's supposed to be like a reflection of everyone in the story. Like it's supposed to be like Adrian is he's gone too far down his path and he's like only thinking of saving, therefore he's like murdering and not seeing the big picture. But it's like no, he does see the big picture because his plan kind of works. And I'm with Paul. Like I probably wouldn't have left that in the movie because they also don't do it right, because in the comic it cuts back and forth between the newsstand guy. Like anytime there's comic, it's like the newsstand guy talking and then a bit of the comic, like the words from the Black Freighter. Like they just kind of cut the newsstand guy out. He was just kind of like a random man who had like a scene every now and then to be like, this is crazy on the front page, right? Like,
when them came on, I must admit that's when I watched the first one and I was like, oh, I don't feel like I'm getting like I don't feel like this has anything to do with the story. So I will write my notes when these bits come on. But what I really did like is the newspaper guy, because I felt like he was the everyman.
Two Bernards, is that what they're called?
The two Bernards. I just felt like he was the everyman. The way he got upset, the fact that Dr. Manhattan had left, humanity was lost. What's the point? Have the comic for free. Life's too short. I just felt like he was such an everyman and like just so ordinary for the extraordinary that was going on around him, and I actually really liked him.
He's a really good reflection character in the comic because he goes back and forward between politics. He'd be like, oh, the Germans are amassing on the border. Like he's like, they won't do anything. Then the next day, when he sees the next headline, he's like, oh, I'm really worried about war. Like he goes back and forward. Like some parts he likes the heroes, then he sees the news story about Rorschach, and he's like, oh, like these heroes like doing stuff. It's like he's a really good like reflection for the reader to be like, while you're flip-flopping, being like, oh, like I hate what this character's just done. I liked them like a chapter ago. So you missed some of that for sure.
No, definitely. And again, it's impossible to get everything like nailed on to the thing. That's why I was always surprised that they kept that in, if that makes sense. Because if you can't do it well, or you can't do like the point that you want to get across, where it just feels like you're filling time or extending the watch hours for whatever need that you want to do this, it just could have been better suited for other things or other characters to grow, because you don't really get much of Ozzy in this. You just know that he's like, say, super clever, and that he's got this plan, or he's trying to like, say, create this thing with John that's going to give the world free energy, and all the power brokers and all the power companies are just threatening him because they're using the old, or you're talking like a commie type situation, and he's just not even batting an eyelid and reaction to it. But again, it's almost like his plan is too perfect in a way when it goes round. But you could have given him a bit more. I know Dan, like Night Owl, gets a fair bit of like screen time, and you get, like, say, to know the character, and you feel for the character, and he's probably the most well-rounded of the movie as well. I do wish that they cut the sex scene. I'm going to be honest; it is the most uncomfortable.
that went on far too long
since Showgirls.
It's as long as it needs to be.
Those-
It's totally fine.
Those boots, man.
I mean, this is softy for him in the movie, because there's just something. I don't know. There's just. I think I'm a big softy for the underdog anyway, but there's something adorable about him. All the stuff with him being like so nerdy, like
he's so wholesome as well.
I know all the things
Archimedes.
that Patrick Wilson put so much weight on to appear like this kind of slightly more bloated, like used to be a hero but isn't anymore.
I know that.
Which I don't get.
I know that feeling too well. Don't worry.
But I don't get this when you see him with nothing on. It's like the guy is still absolutely ripped,
and we saw him with absolutely nothing on quite a few times.
I'd say that one, like, might not have been America's ass, but there was certainly an ass there.
It was Patrick Wilson's ass.
But
it was amazing.
Like that's where they bring the humor back as well. I know, you do cringe, like when the first sex scene happens and he can't get it up because he's not wearing the suit. It's just like, oh, you again. It happens to the best of us. Not gonna lie.
We've all been there.
For the suit, I think it's the lovely sort of parallel between him and Silk Spectre and what was going on with Miss Jupiter and the comedian. Like two polar opposite ways of like kind of coming across their men. But with him, I don't think it's just that. I think it's that thing, this guy sat there for years, fawning over her, knowing obviously he's not the guy. And then when it happens, it's kind of like one of those, oh God, it's happening. Oh no, this is too much pressure. Like, I can't do this.
Also,
I
like,
want to, but
that he's not himself in that moment either, is he? Because it's like, until he puts like the suit back on, like that's like the real Dan Dryberg, Night Owl.
Adrenaline after that prison scene and everything, and it's like they are back as them too. Almost, I see it as kind of cute. It's almost back to the start of like what he would have done the first time round. Getting to do it this time.
Yeah.
No, I'm a big softie for him in the movie.
Yeah, I thought he was so wholesome. Like, he was just how nerdy he was as well. I loved it, and I love the fact that he still went and had his talks with the original Night Owl. Like, he would go and sit and talk to him and just listen to him, even if he didn't have much. Even if he was probably repeating what he spoke about the week before when he saw him, he still was just happy to listen to him. He just come across as such a wholesome guy.
Yeah, even though he's like, don't you got a date or something? It's Saturday night, and he's like, no.
Not me, man.
Not me, man. I'll just go home in my little owl cave.
Is it okay to go into the comedian and Miss Jupiter a bit or not?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a gnarly scene. It is a gnarly scene. But there is something in it, taking all the context of obviously what he was going to do. The sound quality in that scene is incredible. Like, one of my favorites are kind of sound and something where it's the the pot from the suspenders, and even like how they do the rope on the course, you hear every little noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's as if they've
Done
like
amazingly.
put the gain up on all the microphones so they can hear like you hear too much basically.
But no, it's done so well, and even all that, like, kind of as horrible as that part of the story seems, but being quite integral to it, of kind of, I mean, how brilliant line she sat there. It's like when you've got less time, the future seems darker, but the past starts to look that little bit brighter. And that lovely moment when obviously it all clicks into place. But obviously without all of that, she wouldn't have the daughter.
Yeah.
And all the fears of him being around, obviously when she's younger and coming charging up at him, is her not realizing he already knows that's his kid.
Yeah.
No, she stepped in, that was his daughter.
Yeah, if you notice in the opening scene, there's pictures of her all over the place.
Yeah, even when he's got killed and it's like her pictures next to his bed. And it's like he still holds that candle to her.
Maybe
just
that
in a very
maybe that
dark
explains
style, yeah.
why he softened up and that why he was upset with Moloch, because he was worried about his daughter. Like if that was part of Adrian's plan, is she going to be part of the like what was going to be
Fallout.
sacrificed?
Yeah.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Never thought of it like that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like the Silk Spectre character, they definitely like sanded off a lot of the edges and made her a lot more like agreeable, and like because in the comics she's constantly arguing with people, like rightly so as well. Like she's usually the one like on the right side, or just being like, I don't want to see this, like this is horrible. Like that's kind of like she's the only one who sometimes sees like the horror that's happening around everything. But yeah, like it's interesting. See, even in the comics, like the scene is more horrible because Hooded Justice tells her to get out and clean herself up and stuff, which they left out of the movie. Glad, like, which I'm happy about because I thought that was like gross, but
very distasteful.
But yeah, even like the new Silk Spectre and stuff. Like she's just a lot less argumentative and like opinionated, and I feel like they definitely lost something there. She's kind of just like along for the ride, like most of the time. But yeah, no smoking either.
She was hard as fuck in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, when this came out, they very much just created that character of like the fanboys are gonna love this.
Exactly.
I think if it was done now, she'd probably be more in that sort of vein. But I think given the time range when this came out, they wouldn't have tried to do a character like that.
No.
Yeah.
I think with again, Jake's nailed it on as well, because she didn't have as strong a part in the movie as she should have, like compared to the comics. But there's one line in the movie that does like I almost like I stand up and cheer, is when the FBI agents is interrogating us in what have you done to like upset Dr. Manhattan to get him to leave, and he's like, oh, if you picked the right time to do it, he's get like, you can't tell us how to run your life. And he said, well, I was just telling you how to do your job. So he slams his head on the desk and says, that's as close as you'll ever get to calling me a whore, which is just so powerful. But again, that's more Silk Spectre from the comic than we got from this movie. But going through the characters as well, like Dr. Manhattan is one of the most infuriating characters, not just in the movies, but in comic books.
Yeah.
World. Just imagine a character who's got all the powers to do anything he wants. He knows everything. And he is the biggest dumbass in the world as well.
He needs a slap, but you can't slap him because he'll go intangible.
Yeah.
Like when you throw a cup at him.
What really got me was, well, I know we're going to go into his characteristics, but it was the one scene where it's the scene where he disappears, and it's like they find out that he's giving all these people cancer, and they're all crowding him. They know what this man is capable of.
Yeah, I wouldn't go
They know
anywhere
what
near
he
him.
could actually. They know what he could actually do, and they all crowd him to the point where he's like, "Fuck this, I'm out." But I'm like, "Are you so fucking stupid? Like he could do that to you in a second. Like you would be gone." Did you see what he did in Vietnam?
Yeah.
No, that's the point. No, I don't think the American public did see what he was doing.
I found it really interesting that all the flags had 51 stars on, because after they won the Vietnam War, Vietnam became a state of America.
Yeah.
And
did you notice as well? It was like the comedian had that great line where he's like, oh, can you imagine what would happen if we'd lost? Like everyone would have lost their minds, and it's like, oh, okay, you mean like the world we live in?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, like our reality.
But again, the most poignant line in the film, and it is beautifully done as well, because it's done with no satire or jokes about it. The Superman is real, and he's American.
Yeah.
And that's how scary this film becomes, is when America has the Superman.
They even leave in the line where he's like, "That's like when Wally's like, that's actually a misquote. Like what I said was God is real, and he's American."
That's even scarier.
Yeah.
You know, I think with the movie context of like the whole thing, like with Dr. Manhattan, obviously they're all crowding him and stuff like that. I think it's almost, I saw it as kind of at this point, I'm to become a little bit stale in a sense. Like he's become so obsessed over building this machine that he's lost track of everything else, and they're all very aware now that he's kind of become defunct, so his only use is to pin all this on him, put him in all this stress, and get him to have a reaction on screen. So the public will believe he is capable of doing this.
Yeah.
Because obviously the whole TV set is all set up. You get the whole thing that obviously they purposely got him in that day to make sure they had everybody in there and pin him on all those questions to garner that reaction, to see if he would kind of break in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So to the American public, it makes sense. Like, oh yeah, because he broke on TV.
So he pushes buttons. Like you see, he has feelings. He does react.
But you don't think he would have buttons the way you see him act normally.
Well,
no,
that's it. He's kind of like his humanity it fades away, but it almost feels like in that second, it comes back a little bit, especially when he knows what it's done to his first love, and probably his only love. As a human, so that's like the humanity side kind of like creeping back in again, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, gone, bye.
And again,
it has that amazingly dark bit afterwards once he actually once he disappears and he's going through the run through of everything that happened, obviously how it happened to him when he's
that's what I was gonna say. The origin
processes.
story of Dr. Manhattan. Again, if we're going back to the intro and like all the different things going through, this was done to perfection. Like film wise, story wise, and like even like acting wise, like every little piece of that puzzle was put together in such a way that, like,
apart from the watch thing, apart from the reason he goes back in the machine in the movie, is like, oh, I forgot my watch. In the comic, he repaired that watch because it was who was he going? Was it Janet? Is that the girl that he was dating?
So. Yeah.
That's her watch that gets dropped at the carnival, and the reason he goes back in is because like that's like that was their first date. That was a special moment. But in the movie, it's just like, I left my watch. I'm just gonna run back into the dangerous machine.
Who shut the door?
No, it shut automatically. It was on a timer.
Oh, it just I thought someone like walked past and just kicked it.
It was Dr. Fate. But the thing that stood out to me is just like the little hairs standing up on his arm and stuff like that. That little embrace, then the explosion, and then he's starting to materialize himself, and you just see like the nerve endings.
The wording of it, of like, it's this date and a certain system has appeared here, and then somewhere else he appears again until he comes into full form. But when he's talking about his missus and he starts saying, it's like, I can see her aging.
Yeah.
So he goes for a 16-year-old, which they don't say out loud in the movie, but that's how old she is in the comics.
It really does set of kind of like, as much as he's this big blue thing, he's still very human at the basis of it, that he still thinks in that sort of way, that now he's so above it all, he can just toss the previous one away and pick up the next one, and they'll be enamored by him. And you see, obviously, doing it's exactly what he does to her as well, that he just disassociates away from her. She's getting older. She's not as interesting now.
What a dick.
Massive blue dick.
Massive blue dick.
And that was one of the notes of Thunder. This film has too much big blue dong.
I didn't really notice it because I feel like it's mostly when he's walking into because it's mostly when he walks from like the background to the foreground, and then after that they cover it up most of the time.
I mean, I'm really glad. Oh, sorry.
When Rorschach comes in for the first time to talk to him, and he's like, he's huge.
Yeah.
And Rorschach just kind of stood like quite close in behind him. I'm like, that could not be a pleasant view. You just
He
look
could
and
just squash it with his dick. He just like run around, just doing,
Just if he
doing.
turned round, he
Timmy,
would have knocked
imagine
him
doing
over.
Timmy Mallet's mallet with Dr. Manhattan's dick.
Don't imagine it.
I don't want to
Everyone
imagine it.
Don't
I'm
imagine
just
it.
really glad when they did the Vietnam scene and you see him coming up over the horizon.
Yeah.
He had something on then.
But that was in the
Yeah,
comics.
I was
In the comic,
so glad
yeah,
for
in the
that.
comics he had the pants on as well. But
I know, but Zack Snyder could have been like, "Hang on a minute, I can get dicks in here. Let's get some dicks in here."
But I know you laugh, but the reason behind it was because he started finding clothing and like pants trivial, so that's why he just decided he was.
Well, that makes a lot of sense for the
It's like
the higher
another
beanie he is.
It's like another loss of humanity because he has a full up to his neck suit on in the Minutemen or the Crime Busters meeting.
Crime
As it
Busters.
goes on, as it goes on, he has less and less clothes until he's just like, I don't care anymore, which is it's a weird vibe.
It was choices, you know.
But like,
It happened.
And I think with the movie as well, like if you talk about like iconic looks, there's like we're in a stage now where we've got an abundance of comic book characters, comic book looks and stuff. But I still rate Watchmen looks up there with some of the most iconic looks out there. Like especially if you go back to the comic wise, like Rorschach's mask, even Dr. Manhattan's like blue glow and the symbol on his forehead, like even the comedian, everything just stands out and just has an impact.
Yeah,
and it's like it's one of those things with movies, isn't it? Because like you can say, oh well, you know, it's this many years on, therefore movies look better, and it's like, well, actually, because you're pointing at a real life camera at real life humans, like it doesn't always look better. Like it's like the Watchmen in parts absolutely looks like better than some Marvel movies, just because like the lighting, they've actually spent time on like the lighting. There was no parts where I was watching this where I was like, oh, it's too dark, I can't see anything. But that happens very often with like modern TV shows.
that was one thing that I noticed, was how effective the lighting actually was, and how, because I can't count how many movies I've seen that I have not been able to see because of how dark that they are. Han Solo being one of them. How ridiculous is
actually,
that?
the end, like the last season of Mandalorian, like the last few fights, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's too dark.
Saying that though, talking about a dark scene coming out from this movie, Jake made us write this on me notes. He actually sent us a message and you better write this note. And I can never unsee this again. At a certain point when we're seeing Dr. Manhattan creating anything, you actually come out of Dr. Manhattan's butthole.
Yep. When he's making his like castle in the sky thing and like levitating, the camera just pulls straight out, and I'm just like,
it's like I've just flown out of the Captain Dr. Manhattan's butt, and now that scene is going to be imprinted forever on my mind now. So thank you,
just
Jake.
Like it brushed the top of our heads as we flew back in the camera seat.
So we can say we've actually come out of Dr. Manhattan's butthole.
Yes.
I don't think he poops anymore. I don't know.
I think he's beyond that now. Like completely.
We never see him
beyond
eating anything.
No, that's true.
No, I reckon it's like a Harry Potter situation. Like he just changes the atoms and like that can go there, and like we won't worry about where I put it, but it's gone somewhere.
Because they do some very strange things in the comic and with the movie with Dr. Manhattan, like, which again always brings up questions I would like to ask. Like, and I know when Silk Spectre reacts to finding out that he multiplied himself a few times when they were making whoopee, shall we say?
What a dick move!
Would you have reacted that same way, or would you have just went along with it?
Nope.
Well, no, because I think in it when she mentions like, but I thought you liked this, and it's like clearly they've done this before. They've utilized the fact that obviously he can multiply himself and change himself about, but it's more the case of that he's not even really in the room.
Yeah.
And if you notice how he immediately blames her for it as well, he's just like, I don't know what you even like anymore. Like that whole classic thing. Like Jess was saying, like he's absolutely at core, he's still like a shitty bloke from the 1950s or whatever.
A little bit.
Bless her.
But no, I think it's not that. That's the outrage in that scene. It's not the fact that there's multiple of them. It's the fact that he's not even in the moment anymore. He's just appeasing, just to keep her happy so he can keep working in the other room.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sad moment. You're like, oh, like, it really is quite real how little he cares.
There's something a bit creepy as well, because she describes it as like licking a battery.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Like,
wouldn't
how
want
can that be pleasurable?
I mean, yeah, as far as like crazy, fetish stuff goes, even
What,
I'm
battery
sort
licking?
of kind of like, I've never thought about licking a battery as a.
I
Mm-mm.
think I
thing.
think people did it in the 70s and the 80s because there wasn't much else to do. Not sex, I mean licking 9 volts.
Get the batteries.
Of where she put the batteries, but that's another story for another time.
That could have been him about to say like, "Oh, I'm about to make the battery obsolete." Like, you know what? In the comics, like, hats off to Alan Moore. Like, he talks about lithium batteries for like the cars, and I'm like, yep, that's where we ended up eventually. It took a while. We didn't have a Manhattan to jump the tech forward, but it's cool that they actually did the research at the time to see what was like possible or how it would probably end up.
See, I was always interested about that, so I did actually look into it. Now, Alan Moore is responsible for the political undertones and like the tone of Watchmen, but Dave Gibbons was the actual guy who was thinking about what kind of food would they be eating in this, what kind of cars would be then, what kind of thing. So Dave Gibbons is actually responsible for them little things that might
Like
not go
world
unnoticed.
building
stuff. So Alan Moore was more like saying, I want to make this political, I want to make this like satire, I want to show turn the world on itself and laugh at its own face. Where Dave Gibbons is like, okay, we'll do that, but I want to see what like say if we had someone that could create everything, what stage in the world would be. And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves with
No, I
that
think
type
you're
of thing
right.
as well.
But it's nice how it all meshes together, though. Like, it's not just like, oh, this part's sci-fi, this part's the satire. Like, it all fits really well. Because, like, I wouldn't have noticed there was multiple sort of writers in it.
Oh, it's fascinating to read or to listen to them talk about, or well, Alan Moore won't talk about, but listen to Dave Gibbons talk about. Literally, DC, and again, loads of people give DC a lot of shit, but they just basically give Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons blank check, blank paper, and went, write your story. We won't get involved. Whatever you want to do, you've got this amount of time to do it. And literally, they were both sat on a table next to each other on one piece of paper, writing stuff or drawing stuff, and they're saying, "Does this idea work?" and throwing things back and forth. And that's how they got the shit done. And again, not many people would get that opportunity to do something like that these days, or even then.
Not at all.
And
Not at all. It's such a brilliant way of being creative as well, because usually you've got your writer on one room, and within like another room you've got your drawer, your artist, who's going off what's been written. They're not even in the same room with each other. I think Frank, no, God, no, who does the Batman? What's his name?
Jim Lee, Frank Miller.
No, recent guy, Snyder.
I've got my
Dan Snyder, is it?
Dan Snyder, I think it was Dave Snyder or something.
No,
I've got one of his comics
them
somewhere.
two, the artist and the writer, they fought so badly over their creativeness, because he would write one way and the artist would be like, well, no, I'm not following your direction in that, until they eventually sat together. And I think it's such a brilliant way of doing it. It's really doing my head in. What, Greg? Is he called Greg?
It's not Greg. I know. I'm trying to look at the comics now.
You know who he is, though, don't you?
Yeah, because he had this whole arch that was for Batman Reborn, and they cut him short because he started doing a love story, and they went, "We don't want to do a love story with him and Catwoman."
Batman doesn't love.
Yeah. So he got his arc because he was supposed to be going to get like a full run, and he done well because he gave us like the Riddler Wars and stuff like that.
Scott Snyder.
Scott Snyder, that's the one. Yes.
Okay.
All the names under the sun, but yes.
You did it.
Yeah,
Everyone's called Snyder in the future.
but jumping back to Rorschach as well, because one of the things we did get when they took the mask off him as well, is he, as he said, he didn't see Rorschach as his disguise. He saw Walter as his disguise, and he didn't actually feel comfortable without his mask, and he didn't ever used to call a mask. He used to call it his skin or his face.
His face. He says it in the film, doesn't he? He says, "Where's my face?" I was like, he'll get it for you. Hang on.
Yeah, that guy's not there for the riot either, like in the comic.
No, I'm not putting about it. It's very uncomfortable. It's not nice to wear. Cosplay is not for Paul. Uh,
Yeah, but he like there's that part which I think makes it into the movie where he gets his like clothes out the dumpster, where he's like dropped them off, and he's like, "Oh, now I feel like confident. Now I feel like safe, and like I can take on anything." And it's that whole Batman idea where like Bruce Wayne's the mask, like like the creature that is Batman is what the real man is now after like the trauma turns him into it.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask Jake as well, because I know Jake is a very fond of fight scenes and action and close combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the combat scenes in this? Because I know we talked about the original fight scene, but all the way through this, we've got loads of different types of kind of battle scenes or fight scenes.
Yeah, definitely. Like overall, I'm a fan. Like I think with today's eyes, the bone breaking stuff is a bit silly. Like when you like, but I get what they were going for, like hyper violence, and they were probably trying to show like these people are on a different level. Like
Yeah.
the not Top Gang aren't in the same league as like
What a fucking name,
like
not
Night
Top
Owl
Gun
and
away.
stuff. But yeah, it was a bit silly seeing them just like, oh, I'm just gonna kick someone's knee back, like kick his leg off, basically. But no, like shot wise, yeah, like it's beautiful. Like I love that prison corridor sequence. Like
I
that's
wrote that on
probably
my notes.
that's
Yeah.
probably my favorite. And a bit of the stuff with Ozymandias at the end
Yeah.
is quite fun to look at. But yeah, like I say, the bone breaking is a bit silly, but overall I definitely like the style because you can like see everything.
Yeah.
Like Paul was saying, there's like the part at the start's a bit more like a dirty scuffle. Until it starts with like the stuff with the knives where he like catches the knife.
It's like
That's
just having
horrible,
like a
that
dance.
bit though.
Just having like a dance with each other. And there was the the flashback scene with Rorschach when he's a kid. He's with the bullies.
Oh yeah.
And he probably boots that one in the nuts and then cracks him across the face. And then he bites his fucking cheek.
That's in the comic too.
Oh.
Shot for shot.
Yep. But the prison scene for me as well, like this, like I love the start, but it's not the highlight. The fight scene in the prison is unbelievable, and then to top it all off, the fight scene between Ozzy, Night Owl, and Rorschach, where he knows every move that they're going to take, and it's effortless for him, and they're doing everything they can to try and take him out. And as you said, it's not close caption, it's not quick editing. You see everything clearly, and you know what's going to happen in these fight scenes as well, because you've seen it in the comics, but it is choreographed like to the T. But there's a brutal, and I think Jess said it really well before during the scene with the comedian and Silk Spectre, the sound effects. Now the sound effects in a lot of fight scenes can either make it wah wah or like the brutality, and I do think they get this so right with this bit as well. A lot for
They
a lot
do
of the
the
movie.
like lovely like sound quality moments of like the boots like sliding across the floor
Yeah.
when they're getting like pushed back and
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
impacts and stuff of hitting there's something quite really nerdy about the sound in Watchmen. Like they really thought about if something impacted on this, exactly what would it sound like, and then really bring it up in quality so you know exactly how this is going to feel.
And they use
Even-
the environment a lot, which is nice to see, like how at the start he like cracks his head off the sink and everything, and it's just like everything breaking. Oh, I do want to before I forget that part with Hollis where he unfortunately dies. I
Oh,
really
so
like,
sad.
but I really like that they kept his like flashback to like fighting the weird Nazi superheroes and stuff, because they do that in the comic where there's like a scene of him like surrounded by like all these like 60s Batman looking type people, and like I'm really glad they
Goons.
found the time to keep that in.
Yeah.
It was such a sad scene that.
Oh,
But if I can just go back to the prison scene just for a second, at the end of it where they run into Rorschach and he's like, just need to go to the toilet, and then goes in and that it's the door swinging.
Yeah.
That door swinging, and you can see him, the little guy standing in the corner, and the door swinging, and the door is getting closer and closer to being closed. And then he washes his hands, and then he comes out, and it's not until it's a few seconds later because the camera pans round and watches them walks out, and then goes back to the door, and then you see the effect, and it's like, what the fuck did he do in there for all that blood?
Slop.
But that's the
It
scariness
is, like,
of Rorschach
excessive.
as well, because everyone thinks, oh, he's just, as you said, a Batman that kills or Batman that beats. He hasn't got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's like
He's got-
because Dan and like Sil Sexpo was talking about the guy that would just come up and scream at him saying, "Punish me, punish me."
Yeah.
And
So
they were
Jen,
just
like, what happened to him? It's like he tried it with Rorschach, and it's just like
he dropped him down an empty elevator shaft.
Yeah.
I think he has that in the prison scene. Obviously, when that door thing's swinging, it's like when he says he needs to go in, it's like them people just look at each other like,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like,
"Here we
because
go."
like, just
we'll
yeah,
just wait. We'll just wait.
it's just like gross. Like he wants to go to the toilet. What? And it's like, no, not really.
No.
He's definitely taking some trash out there.
He had some of the best one-liners as well. They were
Oh.
absolutely brilliant.
Like the best one to me to date is basically you think I'm in jail with you, but you have to realize you're in jail with me type thing.
I like that line.
And again, just the brutality. Like again, it could be go on the silly side, but it did make my flesh crawl a bit when he threw the hot fat on the guy's face, and you instantly saw him, and the shot lingered a little bit too long on that for me.
Didn't move.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't move. And he says, I think it's when he says, "I hope you're ready here," and he says, "When you are." That's one of my favorite lines of his too. But
It
they
is that
stayed
with
on.
prison that
It's
I
in
love
the
all
prison.
that setup of when obviously it's the whole thing waiting for that guy with the fact it's like the moment he dies, that's it, it's game on.
Yeah.
And then they all announce like he's gone, and it's like all the doors just open.
Mhm.
And when he sets it all up and like the water's coming into the cell, he just calmly just steps up on it.
Steps
And
up.
just, kind of, just wait to see what happens next. All of that with him, just how kind of calculated it is from him, from that sort of thing. Like they all think of it as like, all right, he's screwed up now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people out there after him. It's like it's exactly what he'd been waiting for. Which is kind of like they'll riot. I'll just walk my way through the lot of them and then leave.
Well, he just starts doing a count. He's like, "One to me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is he? There's a line that he says about justice where it's like a man goes to jail and somebody else dies or something like that. I can't remember. I never wrote the line down. That was kind of like a clear-cut case of Rorschach. Justice wasn't prison. Justice was death.
Yeah.
You know, that was his justice. He wasn't gonna just prison wasn't the thing. So he would have been like a kid in a candy shop with all them people in there.
It's interesting. Like I'm just thinking, like the Rorschach monologues. It is interesting what they decided to leave in for like 2005, because there's all that weird stuff where like he says the R word a couple of times, or
That's used quite a lot.
Yeah.
They also don't they leave in the part where he's like, "Oh, Adrian, possible homosexual. We'll have to investigate.
We'll have to look into that." Yeah.
And it's like, because in they make a more of a deal of it in the comics that he's like reading like that right-wing newspaper that you briefly see the part at the end. And it's like, oh, so he's like reading the Sun.
He's a Daily Mail reader.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's like,
He makes the same comment about the original lass whose name I don't know why I was forgetting it. The really sort of dominatrix looking one who gets murdered. It's like she was murdered for a rape aversion.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no
He's really-
sympathy for why they were killed. It's just kind of like, well, they did to themselves, didn't they? They shouldn't have been that way. And you're like, oh god, like
and like the only character he idolizes is the comedian. Like that's the only one he respects, and even that's like a very distant respect, though. Like I don't think they ever say like any words to each other, and it's not implied that they ever did, like before. But it's like he has this blind respect just because he's like a nihilist, like Sammy was saying at the start. How like it's almost as if like everything matters to them, but nothing at the same time, because like they've obviously got these like strong beliefs, but they're sort of willing to do anything to get there, meaning that they can't care about the people along the way, apart from Dan apparently, because they do have that little friendly moment where he's like, I know I'm difficult to work with, and it's like, and then Dan's obviously immediately folds in half, and he's like, no, that's fine.
I thought that was a nice little soft moment to them as well, because
it is, but it's like,
because you can tell they're friends, and it probably
they were partners.
And
well, he was friends with Walter before the kidnapping incident, I think, is what. Like I think that happened on his own type of thing. And then after that it was like off the deep end. But yeah, like but Dan, he does fall too quickly to be like he's very much like an insecure person, which I'm sure we can all relate to.
Just
He's
like me.
no, it's fine.
It's fine. Don't be nasty to me.
No, you said these horrible things, but you know, I still like you and I'm not gonna call you on it type of thing. It's funny.
I do find it quite interesting though as well, because everything that Rorschach kind of goes through, like in this movie, you only see him get flustered twice. Like the one where the police corner him, like when he's screaming no, and he's freaking out and he's like looking for something, and then he finds like the can, and that's just an amazing scene. And then at the end when he knows like there's no hope, there's no thing, and he's taking the mask off to scream at Dr. Manhattan to do it type thing. I think it's quite, because everyone says that Dr. Manhattan's the emotionless one, but Rorschach's quite similar in a way, but he goes about it like, I think he cares too much about humanity or justice, and Dr. Manhattan's like the opposite side, where he wants to do good, but he just doesn't give a fuck anymore.
But like I think like Rorschach's feeling like massive, like he doesn't show it. He doesn't like show it outwardly, but he's got like massive abandonment issues, because like he thinks that Dan's gonna stand by him and be like, yeah, like fuck it, we're going back to New York and we're gonna tell everybody. And the moment Dan's like, Dan, like it's too late type of thing.
He's Rorschach's just as wrong as wrong and right is right. Like there's no blurred line with them at all.
And there's always that famous line as well: "Never compromise, even in the face of Armageddon." It shows that he's
it sums them up. It sums them up perfectly. That just
I
one
guess,
line
like,
right there.
Yeah, like just thinking there, like I guess from his point of view, it's like they are going to end the war, but which is almost a solution, but it's not Rorschach's solution. It's like a solution by lying, like by deception. So I guess he's not satisfied. Like he wants to end like the corruption his way, and like Adrian's way is the wrong way to him, even though it gets like a similar result, I guess. But
so is it the right or wrong way? What do you guys think?
That was I was going to question, is it a happy ending or is it a sad ending?
I think
it's sad.
It's
the
sad.
ending's really curious in a sense. I mean, I love the kind of when you get into that last sort of chunk of the movie when they go obviously actually to him.
Yeah. As soon as it kicks in all along the watchtower, I'm in for it. I'm just like, yes, this is just fucking amazing.
It is. It's
Do you get it? It's the watchtower he built for the Watchmen.
And when they get there, and obviously they come in all ready to go and stop everything, and it'll all be fine. And I loved the whole thing of like it was like half an hour ago I started this shit. Like,
how passive aggressive was that from Adrian though? I was like, do you think I'm some kind of supervillain? Well, yes, you're killing multiple millions of people. I do think you're a supervillain, you dick.
No, he says, do you think I'm a comic
that,
book villain?
Yeah.
Because in the comics he says, do you think I'm a movie film
Yeah.
villain?
Yeah. But no, I love that, even all of that, of like that sort of moment of, you know, you were way behind. You've always been very behind him. He was always one step ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, with the ending, it's weird. I don't know how I feel about the ending, because in some, obviously, for the devastation like that, yes, it's all very wrong and very horrible. If you're looking at what does it do for the characters, it actually works out okay for everyone. In a certain sense, we see what happens with Dan and Laurie at the end, because they're no longer their characters. They've actually moved Miss Jupiter in with them, and they're living now an actual normal life.
Yeah.
Like everything's done. Manhattan's
I
gone.
bet they're still wearing the outfits behind closed doors, because Dan's got that problem, remember? So yeah.
I think that occasional once a month we crack the outfits back out.
I think they might mention that in the comics, because it's similar but slightly different, where they've got new identities now. They're calling themselves like Hollis is the surname, and like I think they do say that they're gonna keep it up, like the adventuring and stuff. Like
that was the impression I got when they were talking about everything being like, she was like, have you been down and sorted? And he's like, yeah, I've done some upgrades and that. And I was like, all right. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, they're continuing this on. That's the impression I got from them too.
There was something very sweet about just how nice for them to. It sort of leaves them sort of almost free because they're both characters that are sort of caught up in everybody else's stuff, and at the end, it's just them two. Like now, especially bringing in Miss Jupiter, not having her in a care home anymore, having to live with them, like almost really in the Hollis thing of like, actually, we're supposed to keep these ones with us, and we should sit and listen to everything that they did.
It's almost like
They
a
shouldn't
sweetness.
tread obscurity.
Yeah, I'm glad they do get a happy ending, but I suppose like it does like the thing Adrian does free everybody, like you know, all of our cast, whether that's free from their lives or like John's free of the planet that he doesn't really like anymore. Like everyone gets some version of freedom, like whether it's not good for everybody.
I do have one tidbit to bring up as well, and again, this is probably just me overanalyzing and thinking too much, because as Jessica said, Adrian was not just one but 17 steps ahead of everyone in the plan, and like even going like putting things in the air ducts so that people who was working with John would get cancer, so that would be blamed on him. To try and the way he tried to kill John is the most stupid thing. Again, for the smartest man in the world, I don't understand that plan and that like way of trying to do it, because
he kills his pet at the same time.
I know the bastard.
And he's
the
kind of like,
or whatever he's called.
even John calls him out afterwards and saying, "Why did you think the thing that created me is going to be the thing that killed me? Reanimating myself was the first thing I learned."
It's almost like you went, "You thick fuck."
Pretty much. I just don't think Adrian would make that kind of mistake.
He doesn't really react to it either, because he's like skulking about, and then he sort of like just faces up to him, and like all he does is turn the TV on and be like, but you see, but that's got not like Paul was saying, that's got nothing to do with him like attempting to vaporize him, unless he thought he was too angry.
Or
there was
just slow him down.
different ways they were going to take out Dr. Manhattan in the film. It was like thrown backwards and forwards. So there was things like Adrian was building something to go back in time and take him out before he hit the machine. One where Dr. Manhattan would go back himself and just stop it from the start. And I think for that one, I think it would have panned on to a really weird ending where it would have put the rest of the characters in an alternative universe.
It was the time paradox they were worried about getting too in depth.
So that's what. So they did that with the Doomsday comic where Dr. Manhattan went and changed the Batman universe and left the button.
How dare he?
There was
we had a face off with Dr. Manhattan and Superman. It was boring. It was really boring.
There was one thing with Ozzy's character that really bothered us, and I just think it could have been really played a lot better than what he did. The accent.
Yeah, so, what was he going for there?
So for behind closed doors, and to the people who know him, he's German. But to the American people, to the cameras, to the politicians, he's your all over a good American boy.
Yeah.
So the American accent was a lot more stronger, but his German accent was even stronger to the people who knew him, and they just it was such a good character choice, but he totally missed the mark on it because he didn't emphasize, and it just sounded, because he's an Englishman, and it just sounded like a really bad English accent.
It
was like he was almost pretending to be English.
That didn't come across to me, that he was supposed to have like two accents. You know, like not at all. Didn't pick up on that. Can I just say as well, I love the part where he tries to, where he catches the bullet and how, but it's done slightly. I like it more in the comics because like there's a line when they're having the meeting where he's like, I think like a Rorschach thinks he's fast enough to catch a bullet or something like that. Then when they're like saying like, well, what would you have done if the fake assassin had shot you first instead of your secretary? He's like, well, I think I would have to try and catch the bullet. And then like Dan's like, oh, like you can really do that? And then like, yes, he actually does it. It's got like an amazing payoff. But like in the comic, it's just in his hand, I think, with like blood everywhere.
Really, it's the pause scene I'm on my screen at the moment, because I went for a couple of watches of it just to catch different bits, and that's the scene I'm on where obviously he's bringing everyone in. But it's that calculated thing in that scene that's so good, that all the people that are in are all the ones that are going to say no to what he's doing. to make sure they all get taken out. Even moving the secretary in the place to make it look like he tried to save her, but really pushes her in front.
Yeah.
And then
And the whole capsule thing. Of
he
just
puts the
chucking it in
capsule in his
mouth.
mouth, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I wasn't just
holds
saying
it.
that and like
No.
holding it in.
It's like, no, don't you swallow that. It's like, wait, are you choking the cunt? But no, there's quite a few like anomalies, shall we say? But yeah.
But
Just trying to-
overall,
it was entertaining and interesting.
I think
Now-
we need to quickly talk about the alien in the room.
Yes.
oh yeah,
giant squid in
yeah.
the room.
That's
How
the question I
do
was going to bring up now.
Oh,
so
sorry, yeah.
Go
no,
on, then.
it's fine. It leads in quite perfectly. So, which ending do you prefer?
Squid. Also, can I just say before I forget it that when they pan across in the movie, there's like SQ, like UID is like the name on the computer
Yeah.
console,
Really? Oh, I
and I'm
didn't
like,
see
oh,
that.
okay.
there's actually a copy of Watchmen. What the copy me and Jake have sits on the coffee table in Dan's house.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't see that either.
yeah. I'm
No,
gonna
but
say
I like the squid.
I like the squid because I love how the TV show and everything like that. But I kind of understand why they didn't use it in this. It's a lot to explain, and they had a perfect way of doing it with Dr. Manhattan than having to bring in another element.
Yeah.
That's the only. But don't get us wrong. I love the squid ending, and I can understand how fans got really upset by the fact it wasn't there. But as a storytelling point of view, I get why the Dr. Manhattan one was used.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm kind of split in the middle. Like, I love the comic ending. I think it's entertaining. I think it makes no fucking sense. But again, I don't want it to make sense. But then this one, it kind of ties everything up quite nicely, and a little bow where it's a little bit too clean at times as well. It's
Yeah.
But as a story standpoint, it makes sense to make Dr. Manhattan the bad guy and try and move him forward there.
Yeah. I think
Make him
like
the scapegoat.
the only thing you miss from that is the sort of idea that Ozymandias has like lost his mind because as I guess they're trying to like parallel with the Black Freighter thing.
Yeah.
Like he's gone too far. Like he's gone like way off the deep end. He's like he's employing people to make a fake alien out of like a psychic child's brain. He's employed like writers, artists, and everyone to like. I think it's because he's found out that John's teleportation, if his version of it like, makes people explode when they get to the other end. So he's like, okay, we can't teleport a live creature, but we can teleport like the body of a creature that will explode anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and then like at the end, like he asks John, he's like, do you think I did the right thing? And John's just like, goodbye, like I'm leaving. I'm leaving the galaxy or whatever.
Yeah.
But like he's got insecurity inside of him, and I think that's what you miss in the movie. Like he does it, but he still feels like, did I do it right? Like, is this the right thing?
So leaving the question mark. Just to say in the chat as well, a few people are a bit confused. This isn't an alternative ending that was filmed. There's a different ending to the comic book to the movie. The movie they changed it completely, where if you go and read the comic, it basically there's a giant squid alien that attacks and gets exploded, and it's entertaining as fuck, and visually it's beautiful, but it would have been a choice and interesting thing to make in the movie, shall we say.
It's just how do you explain it, because there is like a bit of a backstory to why it's there in the first place. Like it has a purpose. It's it is going to be the tool that they blame everything on, but you need the time, and we were already 4 hours deep at this point. Like when you get into it, like I understand why Dr. Manhattan was an easier way plot wise to be saying he did it, it's his fault, blame him.
And they change it to like explosions in all of the major population centers rather than a psychic squid has landed in America and vaporized everyone, like millions of people, 15 million New Yorkers.
I think it works better because it's so hard sometimes with certain ones to translate from page to screen, and you've got to make certain choices in a sense of like it's
Mm.
great, but it cannot translate to screen
No.
Yeah.
without everyone going, "What?" Like at the
Yeah.
end of the film, you're just like, "What?"
But
Mm.
That was the
come the
ending?
but come the
Like,
TV
this, it
series,
works.
but come the TV series, they explain it perfectly.
Yeah.
I like
It was still batshit crazy, but
Oh
still
yeah, yeah. What's the word you
episodical.
use? Shit, fantastic.
shit
I used
fantastic.
that. I used that recently.
I
Yeah,
think there's a
because
lot of this now why a lot of things are getting put into TV series rather than a movie because you've got time over episodes
Yeah.
and
Tell the
episodes
story.
to start to
Absolutely.
build.
Yeah.
In a film,
Yeah.
you're so limited by this one bit of
Is
chunk,
this?
that's all you've got.
This was 4 hours.
Zack Snyder.
It wasn't 6
Try.
like the Justice League though, so give it that
Oh,
credit.
wait.
The question I wanted to ask you as well, because I wanted to test your moral compass here as well. Would you have kept the secret if you had the choice, or would you go full Rorschach?
No, I'd keep it.
I would have kept the secret.
Kept the
If
secret.
I was in that room with him when he was telling
Yeah.
me and it had already happened half an hour ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have
So
kept
yeah,
it.
for the devastation more so is devastation anyway, but then the actual letting everyone know
Mhm.
what
It would be a tough thing to
like,
live
what's gonna
with,
do
though.
with so many
Yeah.
people realizing that this was planned and no one had a care for who died and who didn't die. There
No.
was no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you would probably not say anything, which is not really the right thing to do. Of course, you're supposed to expose really bad things, but
I'm all right with a little white lie.
That's not a little white lie. Don't to be fair, Sammy. That's
mean,
not
in my
telling someone
head-
that the hair
in
looks
my-
nice when
in
it
my-
doesn't.
In my head, I can downplay that to a little white lie.
The total devastation of humanity and well, not humanity, like 15
It
million
wasn't
people.
50. It was 15 million people in the grand scheme that humanity would have been ended.
That could have been people you could have met, Sammy. People you could have been friends with. They could have been listening to this podcast, Sammy. They've killed our audience.
Yeah.
Oh, hey man, didn't put that on my shoulders.
And also in the comic, in addition to the people who explode, he says the psychic shockwave would put horrific images in people's head, like Event Horizon.
Yeah.
And some people would go mad from it. Other people would have like bad dreams for years about aliens that don't really exist. It's really messed up.
That's fucked up. That's so fucked up.
But I think that's the part that's supposed to, because when you think about it, you're like, right, that happened. Why would it stop wars? But I think it's like the continuation. And in the TV show, don't they like fake more alien stuff dropping in like on the cars and stuff? So I think it's that continuation. Like you have to like keep the rolling threat. I don't know. It's like a mutually assured destruction thing, I guess.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at the chat because Lee's saying I'm dead now. Why did you do this to me, Sammy? So you can.
There's a squid. There's a squid brain in his head now.
You're welcome,
thought
Chris.
about films like this because gets talked about a lot about ones that are maybe necessarily like slightly misunderstood by like what people pick as the ones to be the biggest fans about the series. Fight Club being one that people miss the point of Fight Club, and it's like becomes the bro movie, and it's like, oh,
what were you watching?
You didn't quite get that, did you?
Like American Psycho, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, Patrick Bateman seems like a role model. That just nice guy.
But it is. It's
his
with
videotapes
Watchmen, I
back.
see the same thing when people are like, kind of, oh, like Rorschach is the guy, and it's like,
oh,
not
Is he really? Like,
or the comedian, you're like, no, like they're very enjoyable on screen, but we're not supposed to absolutely fan over these ones.
Which it shows you what happens. Like nobody likes the person to whom everything is a joke. Like nobody likes that guy.
No.
But I'm always curious to say how things get misconstrued now. Like when people like cling on to certain ones, it's like, would this go the same way eventually? Will people start to like miss kind of the context of certain characters because they're
just recently, on Twitter, there's been a lot of people who don't think Starship Troopers is a parody of fascism.
Shut up.
Exactly.
Oh, get fucked.
Even though
my God.
Even though the director's on record many times saying it is exactly like a parody of like American
times.
I do think sometimes some people you need to do an IQ check to get on the internet before like just loading up Google or something. You have to ask answer 5 questions to be able to log on.
They just buy a blue tick and then they can say whatever they want and thousands of people see it.
I'm just reading the comments. Lee's just saying the Bane's crying now.
Oh, because of the squid.
Because
Yeah.
I'm killing people. Jake here.
Just with your little white lie, Sammy, it's fine.
Just know I'm really good at keeping a secret.
Yeah, the podcast would still be on the week after the squid exploded in New York.
It would just be Sammy made nothing. Well, Lee's dead. Chris has got nightmares for the rest of his life.
R.I.P. Chris. R.I.P. Lee.
Goodwill's lost a leg.
Jake's still here.
Jake's still alive because he's the Messiah. Paul's here, but it's just a dead body. I'm black. I'm going through the black freighter with him. Like say, this would be head on a stick.
Fuck yeah.
I think because I know they have done like say comics. They did do a follow up with Doomsday, the Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that. I didn't even want to be one of those people who go, oh, God, yeah, I know what that means. I genuinely, when it came out, I was like, I don't understand where this all like falls into it. So
it was just they were dying to get the Watchmen characters in the DC, in the Gotham or like say the DC universe to interact with the other characters. Like they couldn't bring Rorschach back from the dead, so they brought back another character who idolized Rorschach to wear the mask, where he was a bit more brutal and like say he had a great interaction with the Joker where Rorschach's beating 7 bells of hell out of the Joker. But overall, it was just like a missed opportunity. I know they've done the prequel episode comics as well, where they went into the characters a little bit more. I never actually went into them because with, like, say, Watchmen being such a high, like a high regard of the comic world, anything that kind of like comes out afterwards, it's kind of like a damp or a poor representation in my view.
It's never going to be Moa's words, though, is it? It's never going to be his dialogue.
It's interesting though because like this is enough. Like this
it's
is
more than enough.
Yeah,
that's
is
a
like
hefty book.
There's no questions after
Look
this.
at the quality difference in mine to Jake's. You could tell I was smoked at the time.
Oh, mine's a bit yellow as well. It's got
Go on, Sammy. We'll pay you £15 to lick it.
You said that to me. Did you say that to me earlier today?
Yeah, I offered you a tenner and Goodwill said 15, so we're back on 15.
Oh, I ain't licking shit.
But yeah, like like what I love about Watchmen is it only leaves you with like interesting like questions to just think about yourself. Like it doesn't leave you with anything like there's no cliffhanger. Like this is this is it. There's plenty of information here for you to look at.
The last panel literally puts the story in your hands.
Yeah.
Where the guy at the reporting system says, what do we do with it? And he's like, I'll leave it entirely in your hands.
Yeah.
It's up to you. What happened? And I love how, I just love how genius that is. You get to decide what happens. It's your story now. You decide, did the journal make it worse or better in the world that had just been created?
But yeah, so it's like, but what Alan Moore didn't realize was that Warner Brothers would take that literally and be like, we're going to put out sequel comics and they're going to meet Batman. And he's like, no.
No. How does he shield himself from it? Like, because he obviously has really strong opinions on it. And he's that strong that he's given money up for it. How the fuck can you shield yourself from everything that's going on with something you fucking put your heart and soul into? Because I would be livid.
Yeah.
Like fucking raging.
He didn't have to sign it over, though. That's the thing. He didn't have to sign it over.
No, I guess not. It's just, it's got to be like slightly disheartening for him.
His wording of selling all this off back in the 80s was kind of, it wasn't that smart back then to realise what they'd be doing with stuff that you shouldn't sell your rights to things.
Yeah.
His daughter goes
like many
to,
now that are coming out about this, realising the contracts that were being made back then.
Yeah.
I mean, even something as simple as Kevin Smith with his stuff of like things you didn't know back then, you don't sell your rights to your work because
Eastman and Laird went through it as well.
They massively got fucked over.
Yeah.
Well, one of them did. One of them sold
one of them bought a fucking tank. What was it? So this ended in 87. The rights were bought before it even finished.
Yeah, they knew what they had, I think.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Oh, his daughter goes to Thought Bubble. Leah Moore, she's a lovely lady.
So I think we know who Sammy and Jessica's favorite character in this is. So who's your favorite character, Jake?
Oh, it was there's Night Owl, by the way.
Yeah.
I
For
think
reasons
mine.
because it's sorry arse and got all excited.
I mean,
I
not
think
all
it-
the
How
reasons.
many times that gets said to me in the house when I supposed to put it on? Like my partner's just like, "You just want to look at his ass again, don't you?" I'm like, "No, I would watch this whole movie."
Well, you don't want to just want to watch it. Like if you could bite it, you probably get away with it as well. But that
It's equal opportunity though. You get to see both the Rosses in the ship.
You do. To be fair, they're both very pleasing to look at. They picked very well for a scene like that.
I think like I've got to pick like a comic and a movie. I think in the movie, I think Rorschach's really fun to watch and everything. Like even though he's horrible and I don't agree with him, like he's a fun movie character. He's less likable in the comic though.
he's
you learn
detestable in the comic. He's like
you learn more about him and how he just lives in filth and everything. He's a reflection on a lot of our right wing boys that we have on the internet right now.
He's everything. Like himself is everything that he thinks of the world, but it's like he embodies it himself. So the wretched, the stench, and everything that he feels the world is, he reflects on him.
Yeah,
which makes my stomach churn whenever I think of like when they mention how badly he smells. I was like, I would hate to think how badly he smells.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
But comics wise, I really like Silk Spectre just because, like I say, she's like integral to the story and she has a say about everything. And I think for the most part, she's like on the right side of history on this.
Yeah.
And when she sees like the stuff in New York, she's the one who reacts with like absolute revulsion. Like a lot of the other people hanging about in like the snow place are just kind of like really, Adrian, like surely you're making this up. But she like gets to see it, and I just think that's like awful. Like she has to live with that now, and like all the other people were detached from it. Even John, who was there, but too detached to care. Because what does he say? Like the molecular makeup of a living and a dead person are the same to him. It's just like fuck off,
Nice.
dude.
Nice.
That's like such an edgelord thing to say.
Yeah.
I think the overall, like, see, what I love about this movie as well is like the tone. It is all about fear. Like everyone is scared. Like they ramp it up as well because they use the doomsday clock as the kind of like the weapon to move on. I know they use it more in the comic. Like each episode is like it's been ramped up to the next level.
Yeah.
But everyone is scared. And like there's a line like with John as well where he says I like he made me feel something like again, and so he was quite happy that he felt something. But like everyone in this whole film is scared of something for some reason, and that's probably of the time in the 80s. Like everyone was scared. Like they were talking about like the Cold War, the AIDS crisis, Margaret Thatcher, just to name a few things.
No, you so bang on.
Because my parents have said similar things about how like my mom was scared of like nuclear weapons going off in England. And it's like, and I had to teach her about that in school, which considering it didn't happen, it seems super fucked up now. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, fuck
fine.
the Tories. We have to say it.
Oh.
You got it in there.
You mentioned Thatcher.
True. I'll let you have that one.
Alan Moore would agree with us.
Alan Moore would agree.
It's not a tricking episode, but yeah. So yes. So what would you rate this movie out of 5 if you're going to give it a rating there? So go with Jessica first.
And for me, it's a 5 out of 5 because it's one that I regularly go back and watch of like one of those just fun movies in a sense of like I know I always enjoy from start to finish. I'm never there's never a point I want to skip anything in it. I'm like I can just settle in and watch it.
What about you, Jake?
Movie, I'm gonna have to go 3 out of 5 because with 2024 eyes, it's a bit cheesy, and I think that's just the Snyder.
Yeah, the Snyder evidence.
But I would absolutely say just read the comic to anyone who's like interested about this series. Like, fair enough, it's easier to watch a movie and more condensed, but I think like the comics got so much more like sink your teeth into, not just Dan Dryberg's, but
Hey,
what about you, Sammy?
I'm gonna go with 3.5 because I agree with everything Jake said, but I just feel there's something a bit more the story wise for me, and the dialogue and plot was I actually really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I found Watchmen quite hard to read to start
It
with.
is, yeah.
And because of that, I got really frustrated with it. So when this came along, it did kind of like simplify for us. Yes, I didn't originally get the whole squid thing because that's not what I see in the movie. But when I go back and read it, then it all makes sense. But it also helped us. It's a brilliant book. And I wish I'd read more of Moore before I read, because I think I jumped straight into this one after Killing Joke. That was a really big mistake because I didn't get him yet. Like Killing Joke is one thing, this is a fucking another.
Oh yeah, I didn't get this in 2004 or 5. I didn't get everything in this. Like this reading now was so much more like
clearer for you.
Yeah, and just more like useful. Like I got it, and watching it, like reading a bit on the night and watching some of the movie the next night. I think that's probably why I'm like pretty harsh on the movie, just because the vibes are totally different.
Yeah.
Because it has to be, because like Sammy was saying, it has to move things along more, like
I also
faster.
think the thing that Watchmen is probably even more appropriate now. Like as things
Sadly,
are happening
yeah.
day to day, this is one that now you like kind of, I don't know. Sounds
we're waiting for it to happen now. So yeah,
it's a very like
all the dystopian ones now are kind of like, this isn't even dystopia anymore. This is just every day.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these ones now are being looked back on with a lot more fondness, of just kind of like they all saw it coming. All of these writers saw this coming.
I think a lot of artistics tend to see these things coming. And I think we run into that a bit doing like this podcast and stuff, because we're like we're trying to look a bit closer, and we are like making things ourselves. So we see like how hard the writers and the artists work. And I think some fandom like chatter doesn't really look that far. I think some people are like willfully ignoring it. Like I don't think, I'm not saying like we're smarter than people. I think some people are just like, they don't want to know.
It's
like,
easier to look the other way around rather than have like, but everything comes around in circles as well. Because as you said, the tones and everything that was happening during the 80s happened during the 90s. It's happening in the 2000s.
Now,
it's happening again. It's the same people making the same mistakes. And unfortunately, we're the ones that are suffering and will suffer and keep suffering. It's shit.
It is shit.
But yes,
it is pure shit. But what would you rate the film?
Yes. Somebody bring me on tangent. What the fuck's going on?
One star.
The world's going to end now.
I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to pull a funny.
No, it worked. It worked. Probably for me, it would probably be a 3, not quite a 3.5. Just for the same reason that Jake said. It would have been a higher rating if the TV show didn't come out and absolutely blow everything away. Like literally, if you want something to get the tone of Watchmen and the feel of the comic, even though it's got nothing to, other than the characters that they do reference, it is like watching a live action Watchmen. And again, no doing this film down. Visually, this is the most stunning comic book film we will get. I hope they don't try and remake Watchmen or do anything else with Watchmen, because the two things we've got in the media form, the movie and the TV show, you cannot do it better.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
I can't recommend the TV show enough, Jake. I think you would absolutely love it.
Oh yeah, like I think it was just because I literally like lost a Now TV subscription while it was like actively airing. I've seen the first episode.
TV series. I didn't like it at all.
It's not like I was saying, it's not really a Watchmen story. It's like it is like it's like based on a like true events sort of thing. Like I've heard like what the director was trying to do and stuff. But
I think it lost me the moment the case opened and she had the big blue. It just lost me at that point.
It's like a Pulp Fiction moment.
Apart from you see it.
It's there.
Just instead of like say the whatever what was in Pulp Fiction, it's just a big blue dong waving in her face.
Just a dong in the case. I love that.
That's
What a
the
way.
that's the
That's
whole
the way
end
to
of
end
Pulp Fiction as
tonight.
well. A big blue dong.
Big.
So yes. So what are you two lovely people up to tomorrow?
Oh gosh, yeah, we're Monday nights.
Yeah.
I am. Me and Dan decided that we were going to do Pumpkinhead. I'm not going to lie. It is actually, for all that I sit there and say, film shit, everything else around it is absolutely brilliant. So there is some really good talking points. So it's Pumpkinhead. It's 7:00 tomorrow on YouTube.
Cool. So that's the Monsters Up North podcast.
Just in case you didn't know.
Yep. You never know. Might get some new viewers, new people watching
That's
for
true,
the
that's
first time.
true.
You always got to give
Right.
them that little bit more. And we've got the wonderful Gaming Up North boys, the beautiful Jake, and the godlike mammoth of the man that is Adam.
Ozymandias himself.
Ozymandias himself. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna try and do some Alan Wake 2 because that's come out recently and by all accounts is very good, but it didn't sell well as people would have liked. It's very much like a game journalist's game in that respect.
Yeah,
like
it was up for
critically
a lot of awards, wasn't it?
Yeah, critically acclaimed, but didn't quite get the sales. So we're gonna see what that's all about. Because Adam's a big fan, but I've never touched the series really, apart from seeing videos and stuff. But so yeah, we're gonna try and dig into that, and then we'll have our monthly news roundup after that. I think. I'm losing track of the days.
Sometime in the future, Jake will tell us what happens.
Just go one day at a time, Jake.
Some months have 5 weeks, some months have 4 weeks.
Damn it, February for being short.
No, February's a leap year.
We're all gonna die.
What are you up to? Anything fun, Jessica? Got anything planned? Anything you want to promote?
Nothing at the moment. No, I'm just gonna be gallivanting off to places. So,
So if you see
not
Jessica
really
at a
nerdy,
convention,
no, it'll be PG in Edinburgh. I think the next thing I'm going to be going to. So that's not very nerdy. That's there might be nerds who go there. I don't know. Maybe.
yeah, you can be nerdy about anything you're passionate about.
Anything's nerdy.
But yeah, don't come up to Jessica though. I shall kick your knee out of your leg.
Silver Spectre on you. Spectre on you.
An awkward nerd.
Fine. But yes, just to say, thank you for everyone who's tuned in. Thank you everyone in the chat. We have got some interesting episodes of the Nerdy Up North podcast coming up on Friday. Like I say, Goodwill is returning with Cynoid. I hope he's not wearing a wig this time because he looked very warm, bless him. If you haven't checked out the 1 year anniversary, that was last Friday. But this Friday they are reviewing Wrath of Khan. So that is going to be quite an interesting episode. We have an amazing episode this Sunday where we've got Emma from the BBC coming on to talk about Sherlock. Emma has worked with us and done a few interviews with us in the past, so we'll be the one that'll be grilling her and asking her opinion on Sherlock. Then we've got probably the busiest month going forward in March. We've got trying to think now, my brain stopped working. We've got what have we got going up? So yes,
I have it on my phone. I can't get to it.
Do you mean just like the Sunday schedule and stuff?
Well, we have a Sunday schedule, and then we've got additional episodes.
Yes. So the Sunday schedule, we've got the Breakfast Club. So we've got a cacophony of people coming on to talk about one of the greatest movies of the 80s. Then we're doing the Blade trilogy. Then we've got Blues Brothers. Then we're doing a movie called Super Mario Brothers.
Yes, I can't wait. That is going to be the best episode of the year. I can't wait.
Hooked on the brothers.
But then we were meant to be doing Blade Runner, but unfortunately the people who were going to be involved with that can't do it on that date, so that's been moved. But me and Sammy are going to be doing Empire Records.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Rexy, you're so sexy.
Oh, Jessica's eyes lit up there. But we do have a guest coming.
I've just bought the Liv Tyler outfit from it, so.
So Jess might be cosplaying for us on that day.
Yeah.
But we do have a special guest episode in March where we do have the Who Did What Now podcast coming on to talk about superhero origin stories. So that's going to be very interesting as well. So
Fucking
yes,
wait for that one.
and that's not just like the things. We've got anniversaries coming up. We've got a 2-year anniversary of Twitch. We've got a 3-year anniversary of this son of a bitch podcast that we've
Son of a bitch.
continue, and for some reason, just people keep watching.
Got a Monsters one in May, but that's May.
We've just had a 3-year anniversary for the Nerdy Up North Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
which we are clamoring closer and closer to 10,000 members of the cult, which is
That's
quite cool.
fucking crazy.
It's a lot.
We have
to
just
think how it all started, and this is the number we're sitting at 3 years.
Well,
it is nuts.
That's just one of the numbers. The other number that we've got that we hit today on the Facebook page is 27,000 followers. We've gained 1,000 followers on the Facebook page this week alone.
Whoa.
That is
Possibly
so
the biggest thing Sunderland's ever produced. Prove us wrong.
Fake news, but yes, coming from Dale. So yes, we have had a lot of big things happen and a lot of bigger things coming, and not just talking about Lee's penis.
Nope. Wasn't even mentioned tonight.
No.
With all the dong talk,
jokes,
it
yes.
wasn't even mentioned.
But yes. So yes, love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being with us. So same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone. Bye.
Bye.